everyone here? Okay. You ready to go?
Yep.
Good. Okay. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the City of Ojai Historic Preservation Commission on Thursday, February 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. This is an in-chair and virtual meeting, with the meeting being broadcast via teleconference. Members of the public wishing to address the Historic Preservation Commission on items appearing on the agenda are requested to complete a speaker's card if in person and file it with the secretary. Cards are available in the lobby. Speakers should state their name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, James was talking to me. Did you say roll call?
Yes, let's go to roll call.
Okay, Chair McCatton,
Here.
Vice Chair Sims,
Sims?
Here.
Commissioner Levitt,
Here.
Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Walker,
Here.
Commissioner Akins.
Here.
Commissioner Basasha.
Here.
Took 2 years to get that, yes.
Okay. Do we, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, we do.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public communications is a time set aside for the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for members of the public to address the HPC on items of the city other than scheduled agenda items. Matters raised at the time may be briefly discussed by the commission and will generally be referred to staff or placed on a subsequent agenda. Under state law, other than for emergency items, no action will be taken. Do we have a museum report?
We do. We do. Let's see, where did I stick it? So at the last meeting, I talked about the new exhibit that's up, Meets and Bounds. These are mapping the Ojai Valley. These are historic maps, many of them from the museum's own collection and others that were loaned to us. And that is still going on. It will be going through March 9th, and it's been a very exciting exhibit. It's always fun to look at maps for me. I do a lot of family history and be able to go back in time and see what it was like when my relatives were there. So lots of interesting things. Another thing that the museum does is they do a third Friday. So this is where the businesses get together, and they often stay open later for people to come, go have dinner, then come back and enjoy that. So the third Friday coming up, February 21st, it's from 5 to 7. We are going to have a petting zoo. It's a little bit interesting, a little bit different petting zoo because it's Bravo's instrument petting zoo. I'm intrigued. So that will be at the museum along with sculptor Ted Gall, whose work we are showing in the small exhibit there in the Wilson Gallery as you first come in. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Akins, the third Friday, is that a museum thing or is that a downtown thing?
Well, it's everyone. It's the businesses, it's the museum, it's whoever wants to join in and do that.
And what it is that your museum stays open late?
It does.
Oh,
It does. So
okay.
ourselves and the other businesses stay open later, just for, like I said, people can run home and then come back with their kids.
Thanks.
So thank you for asking.
All right, consent items, the December 12th minutes. Has anybody read it over and see any corrections?
I did. In fact, I already signed it for Sherry. So I don't have any changes to the 12th or to the 9th.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Making a motion to approve the minutes of
I'll
December
second.
12th, 2024.
I'll second.
All right, and roll call?
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore. Yes. Sims.
Yes.
McCatton,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Akins.
Yes.
Basasha.
Yes.
Okay, and then we go on to the next one, which is the minutes of the January 9th meeting. Does anybody have any comments or changes on that one? Did you say you did, Brian?
I didn't, no,
Oh, okay.
I was horizontal, so, thank you. I'll wait till after we finish that, then just a brief comment.
There is one thing that is carried over to another item. If you look on this, it says that when we do the walk downtown, it was you and I, but then on the other thing of the list of the ad hocs, you had me and Commissioner Moore. So we just, you two, right. So it just, on this it's correct, but then on that next item, when it's brought over, that one is wrong. The one that lists, when you list the ad hocs.
When we get to the item, would you note it?
Okay.
Thank you.
But on this, everything is fine. If everyone's okay with it, does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 9th?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, anyone wants to second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call?
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
McCatton,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Akins,
Yes.
Basasha.
Yes.
All right. Now we're on, well, now I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
So on the Windows survey, it says Sims and Moore. From the minutes, it's Sims and McCatton.
Okay, it should be Sims and, who should it be? I'm sorry, Sims and
Sims and
McCatton?
McCatton,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, do you have a,
Yeah. So the commission, let's see. Actually, the chair asked that we put this item on the agenda this evening to review and discuss and potentially update the ad hoc committee assignments. In the past several meetings, I think it's taken more than one, there have been 5 ad hoc committees created. There's the window survey of state historic districts, that's Sims and McCatton, the update to historic resources inventory survey / structures of merit, and that is Akins and Walker. Council chambers renovations, Moore and Basasha. Mills Act and landmark incentives, Akins and Levitt, and that one we know we have, well, we'll discuss that. Will need to be revised, and disaster preparedness, that's McCatton and Moore. And so I'll open it up to you. I guess we'll probably start with the chair to
Okay.
discuss reviewing and potentially updating these commissions, ad hoc committees.
so I had asked Maura to run it up the ladder to find out a definition for ad hocs, committees, and liaisons, because I just felt like, I said in this, that's the planning commission meeting the other night, and realizing how frugal and hesitant they were to just have a bunch of ad hocs, because, they take a lot of time. And so I was like, well, maybe we are too, we have too many of them, and maybe there's overlap, or maybe we need to really think about it, or maybe they're not ad hocs, maybe it's a liaison, maybe it's a committee. And so what Taylor, our attorney, said is an ad hoc is a temporary group to work on a specific topic. It's limited time and limited purpose. It's not staffed. And she said to have caution of 3 members versus 2 members due to potential commissioners being absent at a meeting, then the item wouldn't be able to be discussed because the ad hoc would then be a majority in the meeting. A committee is continuing purpose. It's staffed. It has noticed meetings and council's interest. And liaison is commission-approved issues. So those are the 3 things. I was thinking that liaison was the least of it, because when I asked to be like the education liaison, I don't really know if that's the right title now after reading this.
So I was thinking about that before the meeting tonight, and because of your being the education liaison.
Mm-hmm.
And education is something that the commission is budgeted for, and it's something that we have like a membership, for you to attend workshops and such. And I don't think that that's inappropriate, that you are the liaison for education.
It is, yeah,
Because,
it is
again-
approved,
Because
and it
again, this
is
isn't, exactly,
through you, so
exactly.
it is staff, basically. 'Cause-
Right.
Okay, good, all
And
right.
Perhaps if something else comes up in the future and there's a question, we run it up the chain to find out if it's appropriate. But I do think that you being the liaison for education is appropriate.
Okay, so if we
So-
start with the top
so,
one, the Windows survey.
Chair, could I just, before we get too far down, could you just repeat for me what you were saying about the ad hocs and the
The ad hoc is-
numbers,
It's a temporary group
right?
to work on a specific topic, limited purpose and limited time. It's not staffed, and then she wanted to issue caution to us having 3 members versus 2 members due to a potential of a commission being, one person being absent would make it so the item couldn't be discussed because the ad hoc would then be a majority in the meeting, which is something I never,
Okay, so if you have 3 people in it, and then you have 1 person that's absent, and we have 7 people, 3 people is not a majority.
1, 2, 3, 4,
There's 7.
5, 6, 7. And so.
If we had a
for-
3-member
so-
ad
so-
hoc,
So, excuse me, so
yes.
for instance, 2 members of the commission would have to be absent in order, and if these 3 commissioners were on an ad hoc and you 2 were absent, then we have 2 and 3, they wouldn't be able to discuss that item. So it would be unusual. However, she just said to be cautious.
right, it didn't say we
She
can't do it.
didn't say you can't do it, she just said be cautious.
Okay, so,
And there could also be, I'm not sure where this plays in, I'd have to think about it more mathematically, but also with a lot of overlap, like, you're on this ad hoc and you're on this ad hoc, and so you're on both, and, I mean, I don't know, it can get confusing, I'm not sure. She wanted you to be cautious, and so we're passing that along.
okay, so again, if we have 3 people on an ad hoc, which was a key goal in getting 7 commissioners,
Yes.
7 commissioners understood and approved by the city council, and all of us were here because of the city council. And again, it was for us to have 3 commissioners, or 3 people on the ad hoc. So if we have 3 people on the ad hoc, and one of the commissioners is unable to show up for this meeting, the 3 of the ad hoc are still not a majority.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct. It would be an unusual circumstance that 2 members would be absent. And if that were the case, maybe it just wouldn't be talked about at that meeting. It's not like it has to go away, just wouldn't be able to be discussed.
Yeah, I don't
Just
think,
caution. It
it's
wasn't you
caution. We can
can't,
still
it was
do
just
it.
be cautious. So, and you
I do-
think about it before,
Always
and
cautious,
also you
yes.
think about it before you're absent, which we need to do anyway because, there's supposed to be specific reasons for being
Mhm.
absent.
right. And we do have people who do travel, so we can think about, like, their trips, and if there is a time when we just won't put it on there.
Right.
I do, personally, I feel that I would rather have some ad hocs with 3 people on it and have less ad hocs. Because I do think there's some overlap where maybe the ad hoc can discuss it, because I think that we just might have a lot right now. And I want one more because the State Historic District is not on there. And the second one down, where it says update to historic resources inventory survey, and then it says structures of merit, that with Commissioner Aiken and Walker, that is 2 different items, because the survey is one document, structures of merit is another project. So if we can cross out the SOM there, or if it's, which do you think that is? Were you under the impression that the update to the historic resources inventory survey, was that the survey, or was that the structures of merit that you 2 are on?
I felt it was the survey.
How about you?
Yeah, I felt like it was a survey which was just a beneficial ad hoc to the structures of merit, but not these structures of merit.
Right, I mean, because
We were just doing,
there's overlap, because, right, but it was updating the document that was done in 2011, the
Correct.
windshield document, okay, so,
Because the survey might also serve selecting landmarks and
Right.
historic districts and anything really that we forward as a recommendation to the council. So I don't feel it's specific to structures of merit, although they would be benefited by it.
Mhm.
So, but the actual ad hoc is, because it says a limited purpose and a limited time, it's to update the survey. That is not, the structures of merit just happens, they happen to overlap because a lot of the structures of merit are on the survey as ones, but you're not working on the structures of merit, you're working on the survey. And
You're working on a citywide survey of
okay,
historic properties.
so can we cross out the SOM on that?
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
would like to remind the commission that staff's recommendation in the recent past was to combine the two, not literally, but as they went forward to council
Right.
for adoption, and then it was recommended and agreed upon by the commission to table the structures of merit, which, again, staff recommended to include this with it, to table it until you got to your joint meeting.
Right.
So
So for
now,
now,
it doesn't mean that you can't have an ad hoc and be talking about it and working on it, but but at the same time, it was what was tabled, I guess, is taking it forward to the council. That was kind of waiting until you had your joint meeting.
okay, so,
But I'll still take the SOM off that.
But we don't have to take them to the council as one,
That's what was recommended by staff.
but we don't have to make that motion. We don't have to make.
You don't have to, except staff will make the recommendation to council that that's their recommendation.
okay, they're two very completely different things, so I could
Mhm.
definitely see you having resistance there. But I think that, that is something that we can explain when we are in our joint council
Right. In
meeting.
the meantime, we'll take SOM off of
That's it, take
that
that, take
item.
that off. And the first one, the window survey of the State Historic District, we think that what the purpose is to utilize your portal if we see something that maybe not be in compliance. That is something that we can do as private citizens. We can go for a walk, grab a cup of tea and go, oh, look at that, that's not supposed to be there. And then personally, we can go on there. We don't want it as an ad hoc. So we'd like to get rid of that ad hoc.
I think that you need to take a vote because you voted it on, so you need to vote it off.
Okay. Does anybody have a problem with the window survey of the State Historic District with myself and Vice Chair Sims be taken off and do it more as private citizens?
So, are you ready for a motion?
If you're fine with it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we remove ad hoc number 1.
Okay.
As you said, it seems like it could be a casual thing.
If we have to use that portal anyway, I think that it's confusing if we do it as an ad hoc, because the ad hoc would then come back to the commission. The commission would then make a recommendation to use the portal. It doesn't make any sense. So I think it just makes more sense to just do it on our own.
Yep.
Okay, and then, so that's the first one is gone. The second one,
Do we need to
structures
take
of
a
merit
vote?
is-
You can either finish this
Oh.
whole item number 3 and then make a motion, or I think it'd probably be cleaner if we talked about this whole item and then made a final motion.
Okay. Then the next one, the council chamber renovations. I know that's a little precarious right now, but I'm comfortable keeping that on. If you're comfortable keeping that on, you guys? Yeah?
I am. I appreciated the suggestions that were made at the last meeting.
Yeah. And then the next one is the Mills Act and landmark incentives. Do we know if Commissioner Levitt can be on that one, that ad hoc?
So staff sent a message to the chair and Commissioner Levitt, and it was determined that by the city attorney that it's a conflict of interest, and so when it comes time to discuss or make any determinations, that Commissioner Levitt is to recuse himself and actually leave the room.
Okay.
And
So
so
that-
he cannot be on an ad hoc committee for this item.
Okay. So, I understand that, but one of the advantages of having, we have Rick, who's the contractor, so when we're dealing with something that we need to know on that sort of thing. It's nice to have a contractor on here. You know, we have a historian sitting here. So when you have somebody that has personal knowledge of what it feels like to be on it and is working through it, and we'd like that knowledge, but we don't want to have it be a problem, how do you thread that needle? How do we get the knowledge without having him financially benefit from it and you know, like, what?
I can't advise you on that.
Yeah, I mean, we can get ourselves in trouble that way, though, so.
It was determined that it was a conflict of interest, so,
Um,
and you have historic knowledge and
Okay, so if there was a ad hoc with two other people on it, if it was Commissioner Akins and someone else, and they were like, they had questions to like interview Commissioner Levitt about, could we get permission to do that? So that they could get the information that he might have a special version of it that maybe we wouldn't know, not being in a Mills Act contract. Like, how could that be something?
well, there's also, I think, 12 other Mills Act properties in the city of property owners
Okay.
that you could probably interview.
That
And
would
as
be-
far as interviewing Commissioner Levitt, since he is a commissioner, it sounds like a gray area, and so I will get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make that clear.
Um,
So-
Can we talk about that?
Mm.
Okay, since this subject was brought up, I can either let Commissioner Levitt go. He and I have been talking about it prior to this because, of course, a lot of time was put in attempting to understand the Mills Act, the involvement both locally as well as the involvement of two different departments within the County of Ventura. And so I have talked with Commissioner Levitt. So again, going back to council, going back into recruiting folks, it had been a suggestion, not knowing who our people were at that time, that we were courting to become a part of our commission. It was suggested that it would be beneficial for the commission to have Mills Act owners on the commission, because the Mills Act is such an important vehicle for the maintenance of historic properties. And in fact, we've had our previous vice chair, previous vice chair, Cindy Combry, was a Mills Act property. Thais Quinn, who was the vice chair prior to Cindy Combry, was a Mills Act property owner. In the document, did Taylor ever contact you?
No. In fact, I find material errors in his analysis and background in particular. And so I suggest that we table this particular discussion about my participation in the Mills Act. We're preparing a document that we'll be sending the attorney, and Maura kind of straightening out the facts. And I suggest that we talk about it then, because otherwise we're kind of just, I believe that that they'll make a different decision.
Okay, and again, so there were a couple things that were stipulated in that document that was done by Taylor, female, and the deputy city attorney, was that one was that the information that she was aware of was accurate. Having dealt with that and having been the individual who forwarded the proposal that we had come up with for the Mills Act to the city, I'm the one that did that. Commissioner Levitt didn't do that. And she said, so there was that. She also gave Commissioner Levitt an out, so that when we got to that point of the discussion and the vote, that he could, based on what she knows now, that he could recuse himself from that. So that did not decline the participation of a Mills Act owner. And we have two Mills Act owners, and I trumpeted those capabilities and those qualifications to the city council multiple times when I was giving them updates on where we were on our 7 commissioners. So, as Commissioner Levitt said, I believe that there is it's still to be discussed, still to be understood by the guidance and the requirements that, again, in the relationship we have between the 2 different parts of the county. We join with them in their planning commission. We join with them in their appraisal. And I've talked to both of those individuals. So I would agree with Commissioner Levitt's suggestion that we table this item and move on. We'll have much more information when we can finally bring this to the agenda.
Okay, I'm fine.
I would like to just make a comment. I think it's completely inappropriate, the letter that you read at the last meeting. It was not appropriate to bring that forward to this commission, because that was strictly about you personally and your Mills Act, and you didn't want to fill out the form, and you didn't like all of that, and that's not what this commission is about.
May I say something?
Certainly.
Do you have more to say? I don't want to interrupt.
I might.
Go ahead.
You speak. I'm just adamant about this. I think that it's a complete conflict of interest.
So I appreciate your concern and your bringing that forward. I use myself as an example. And I actually, all of my Mills Act 10-year plan requirements have been fulfilled. And so I have no financial interest in that. So I was using I was actually using an example, like I think I used as a roof, for example. I think I was talking actually in general, or I was using myself or I guess my property as an example, not kind of for the bigger picture. I wasn't. I was. So I don't know exactly what else I can say. I'm sorry that you felt that.
If you go back and reread it, you will see what I'm talking about. There were a number of things that I was frankly shocked. When you'd go into a Mills, I know a lot about this. When you go into a Mills agreement, you sign a paper, and you're stuck in that for 10 years. And if you want out of it, and you don't want to comply, then...
But I did comply. I've completed my
Okay,
10-year
well,
plan. I don't know what you're meaning.
I'm not going to argue with you. I revisited this several times, and I just will tell you, I cannot sit on a commission where this kind of stuff goes on, because this is not about one's personal use, and I felt that that's what that was.
Yeah, I
Okay,
totally
so
disagree.
that is all I'll say.
Go back to the, I have a question for you. You're under the assumption that other Mills Act properties would not have liked that document. Did you ask Maura about, to see if other?
She told me, Maura said that no other Mills Act property owner had submitted the document.
So we've received, we haven't received all of them, but we've received close to half. It just took some time. People linger in.
But it expired. It was supposed to be turned in by February 7th.
We got a few by February 7th, and we got like one late.
But have you had any complaints about it?
No. But anyway, we're not here to be a judge and jury.
No, I was just wondering, because I
so-
thought that might help,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
Staff hasn't received any complaints at all, and we've received several. We didn't receive all 12, and that's not a surprise. And so you have this on here as what we're doing tonight on this item is deciding whether or not the ad hocs need to be adjusted or removed or continued or whatever, and this isn't a time to talk too early about this.
So I have,
We received something from the city attorney, regarding Commissioner Levitt, and if that's going to be discussed, that can be discussed, or only appropriately is discussed later. That's not now.
okay.
And if you want to do something to change this ad hoc committee, then let's do it.
So I have, these are my questions. are you finished? Did you guys come up with the incentives for the Landmark and Mills Act, or do you feel like that you still want to keep that ad hoc going?
Oh, I
Did-
definitely still want to keep that ad hoc going because
So then let's-
I worked weeks
Okay.
on this. In fact, I had a deadline from, I asked Mara, when was the deadline in order to get it in the package, and she said Friday. I turned that in at 12:39 Saturday morning with umpteen things. Again, I've talked with the appraiser and with the planning commission groups within the county that are on this. I would recommend that we table this whole discussion. I would recommend that there is value in having people who own Mills Act properties, and that we find a way to make that work.
Okay, so I have a recommendation that we go back 20 minutes, and we have 5 different ad hocs here,
Mhm.
and I'm going to take back what I recommended before, and now I recommend that you, one by one, decide what you're going to do with them, with each one as we go along, and then let's move on to item number 4. And so I'm going to go back
Okay.
to the window survey.
So
of
we
the
had a
state
motion.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to the window survey for the state historic, and we've got Sims and McHatton, and there was a recommendation by Commissioner Akins to dissolve this, and is there a second?
I'll second. Can I second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll second that.
Then we'll take a roll call.
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Sims?
Yes.
McHatton?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Akins?
Yes.
Basasha?
Yes.
Okay, so on the update to the Historic Resource Inventory Survey, I think I would, without the structures of merit, I would like to see that continue to go with Akins and Walker. Is everybody good with that?
If we need a motion,
I want you to take a motion and a second. and
okay,
a vote.
then I will make a motion that on that line, update to historic resources inventory, parentheses, SOM, close parentheses, Commissioner Akins and Walker, close paren, that we eliminate the SOM from that sentence.
Anybody want to second that?
That you eliminate the SOM and that you continue on with your ad hoc.
And that we continue on with the ad hoc.
I second it.
Okay, roll call? Do we need a roll call?
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Sims?
Yes.
McHatton?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Akins?
Yes.
Basasha?
Yes.
Okay, the council chambers renovation, we want to,
Okay, I'm taking that. So, first off, it may be confusing because I believe that the dates in the rundown here are wrong. I believe that the first paragraph under discussion,
Are you on the staff report, which is a different item?
I'm on the discussion item.
So are you on discussion item, are you on
Four.
number 3? Okay, stay with number 3, which is,
Am I
do you
confused?
want to
talking about
continue
all
it?
the different, yeah, we're just
Oh,
talking
we're
about.
still talking
We're still
about
here.
Yeah.
whether or not we're gonna keep this.
Right, are you
Oh,
gonna keep
okay,
it?
I'm sorry.
Are you gonna keep it, and are you gonna keep the same ad hoc commission,
Okay,
members?
because we were talking about that earlier, so. we're
Yeah.
Yeah,
switching
so are
around
you
here.
good with keeping on that right now?
Well, I think so,
And you, okay,
yeah.
so do you want to make a motion to continue it?
I'll make a motion to continue the council chamber renovations ad hoc committee.
Good job.
Roll
I
call?
second that.
Can we get a roll call?
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Sims?
Yes.
McHatton?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Akins?
Yes.
Basasha?
Yes.
Okay, and then the Mills Act, with Commissioner Akins and Levitt, I would like to make a motion to table that while we're getting more information.
I'll second that.
Roll
Levitt,
call?
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Sims?
Yes.
McHatton?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Akins?
Yes.
Basasha?
Yes.
And then the last one on there is the disaster preparedness. I don't think it's necessary as a ad hoc. I think it's just gathering information right now. I took a class with the California Preservation Foundation. It was a 3-part on fire prevention and preservation. But until we have our meeting with council, when we get to the item, you'll see that there's a question But I think that if we just all individually find out information, and then we will eventually figure out what we want to do with it. So I'd like to dissolve that for now.
That's a recommendation? Or-
Yes.
Okay. Or a motion?
Yes. that's
So I'll second that.
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
McHatton,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Akins.
Yes.
Basasha.
Yes.
And Gina, we have two other,
Who seconded that last one? McHatton.
That was the disaster preparedness.
You
Ryan
made the motion,
seconded
but
it?
who
I
seconded?
seconded it.
Thank you.
And then the one that's not on here, well, there's two that aren't on here. One is one that needs to be tabled, dissolved, is the local historic district. And then we want to add a state historic district.
So the local is the Civic Center?
Yes.
there's also two more.
There's
Okay.
two.
Well,
Where?
there's the markers for the Ojai Valley
Mm.
Trail. That was a sub,
That is an ad hoc, isn't it?
and then there was the structures of merit, which was Rick and I.
So if I could interrupt, please. So they're not on here, so we can't really discuss them right now. However, I will say that the structures of merit has been tabled anyway.
It just continues.
It's, right, it's tabled until it's not. And then the trail, we have it as a discussion item later on, but it's not on this item, so let's talk about it later on. And then the next one was
State historic
the
district.
State Historic District, and I think that we have that on this agenda later.
Yes.
So let's talk about that then, and if you want to create an ad hoc,
Okay.
or talk about an ad hoc. And then, thank you, since it's not on this item, that would be appropriate.
Okay. So that's it with this one. I think we could.
The one that we did last month, that was the ad hoc with Commissioner Levitt and myself on encouraging people to landmark their properties and provide financial incentives. That was a motion last month that we approved.
Please speak into the
Okay,
microphone. I
so
can't hear you.
I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
item, it's, I'm thinking that, is that item on the agenda later tonight?
And it says motion, Commissioner Walker moved, Commissioner Levitt seconded to
I
add to the
see,
agenda.
I know that on the, I want to know if it's on, so it's not on item number 3 so I want to see if it's on the agenda later tonight.
No.
And if it's not, then it wasn't put on the agenda by staff and the chair, and so it's not on the agenda to discuss tonight.
So
Well, I
is
just
it
thought
on
it
the-
was an ad hoc, and we've acted like it's an ad hoc because we've communicated.
So-
Right, and perhaps it is an ad hoc, but it didn't get on the agenda tonight.
Okay,
So is it in the December meeting minutes or the January?
the January. It just says to put it on the agenda, but I remember it being an ad hoc, but
Okay. So I'll make sure that gets on the
Let's
next,
make sure to get that on the
next
agenda.
agenda. Okay. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry,
That's
but
why
I
I wanted to go
couldn't
over
hear
it,
what
'cause there
Walker
just
said. So
seems to
what
be
is this you're
So I'm
adding?
sorry, Commissioner Walker, is your mic on?
I just turned it on.
Okay, so could you just repeat yourself for Sherry, about the ad hoc committee and who's on it? And,
Oh, well, it actually says on the minutes, Commissioner Walker moved and Commissioner Levitt seconded to add to the agenda a discussion item to discuss how to encourage homeowners with historic residences who want landmark and have financial incentives. And it was my impression that that was an ad hoc, that we were going to come up with ideas for that, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, let's get it on the agenda for next month, and then we can form an ad hoc.
Okay.
we'll make sure that's
It
on
needs
the future agenda.
Okay.
May I ask a question regarding that, Chair?
Yes.
Since the Mills Act is one of the
Benefits, exactly.
benefits and principal benefit of that, as things stand now, am I allowed to discuss that with Mr. Walker?
So I'll find out about that. It's possible that, I think the reason why this didn't come up historically is because, or maybe why it came up this time, is because the commission is looking to change the code and requirements and such. And perhaps that's where the conflict came, because you're a commissioner and you're a Mills Act a participant. So perhaps being, I don't know, I'm going to look into that and see if, and I'll let you know if you can be on an ad hoc that's trying to encourage people to get Mills Acted.
Well, I kind of think it already is one of the incentives for landmarking one's property, so it doesn't require a change necessarily in that. It's just
Going to, approaching, what I'm gonna be finding out is approaching landmark property owners to engage in a, agreement with the city for a Mills Act. Is that, a conflict of interest for Commissioner Levitt? And I'm gonna find out and report back. Okay.
Okay, it would just seem if it was a change that was gonna somehow benefit, but if it's just letting them know that it's there.
Right. Like the California Historical Building Code, when I was doing the flyer about it, I contacted the city staff and found out that then they went and asked Public Works and asked, I mean, we found out that no one has ever used it. It's not one time has anyone, as far as we can see, has used the California State Historical Building Code. So that is a benefit that's out there that's not being used. So that's but it's, yeah, it's something that we want to make sure that we're reaching out to people. So we want to put it on the next agenda item, so it's more of a education to owners, right?
Right, but it might involve asking the council to make some benefits available that aren't already, but.
Okay, so, yeah, we will put that on there, and we'll see if Randy can be on there with you. Are we done with that item then about the ad hocs? Can we get on to item 4?
Okay, back to item 4.
Okay, I'll
But
give
we-
you your
let's do
staff report first. So item number 4 is regarding renovation to City Hall Council Chambers. And after I give my presentation, or as I'm giving it, I understand there might be some dates that Commissioner Basasha would like to correct us on, and that's fantastic. So whether the date is correct or not, I don't know. But I'm going to say at the November 14th meeting, the HPC created an ad hoc of 2 commissioners, Moore and Basasha, to research and then present some ideas for improving the council chambers to the HPC for discussion and ultimately presentation to the city council, requesting support. And then on December 12th, the HPC voted in favor of spending $90 to acquire a quote from an electrician to look into replacing the lighting in the chambers. And since then, the city manager has directed the HPC through staff to determine the desired upgrades and provide those desired upgrades through staff to the city manager for further review and consideration. And if there are any quotes by professionals, by professional contractors to be brought in, that those would be requested through the city manager's office and not through the commission or staff. And so here we are at this February 13th meeting, and the chair asked that the discussion regarding the chambers include having the HPC approach the Parks and Rec Commission and also the Arts Commission to share ideas, and then in combination present those ideas to the city manager's office. And after Commissioner Basasha corrects me or the dates, then we'll open this up for discussion. What dates do I have wrong?
Well, the way I see it is in the first paragraph, it's not November 14th, it's December 12th of '24. And in the second paragraph, it's not December 12th, it's the January 9th meeting.
Excellent. Yes.
Threw me
I'm
off.
sure that's accurate.
Okay.
Okay, and so now we can open this up for discussion.
Can I say just one thing? There was a letter that, I don't know who penned the letter, I don't know if it was Lucas, that said the order that we should do things, and one of the suggestions was reaching out to other commissions so they could weigh in as well. Another suggestion on there was like A and B would be that we would do a presentation and then ask to be put on their agendas and present it to them and give us their feedback. That was the one that I had requested. I don't know if it matters, but because it is our initiative, and so it would be nice if, instead of just kind of blindly going, hey guys, you put it on yours and you put it on yours, so we would present like a PowerPoint, like a little presentation to them, what we would like to do, and then get their feedback and allow them to participate in what they would like to add to it. That way, we're all having the same conversation instead of 3 different conversations, because other than that, we'd have to have an ad hoc with other commissions. So I would like to just make sure that was how I interpreted that letter, that we can do a presentation to the other commissions and get their input and feedback.
So I think the feedback that I received was that's something that you can talk about as a commission and make a decision if that's what the commission would like to do.
Okay. It just listed only that one, and so that wasn't my first choice, because I think it's just,
Okay.
it just kind of makes it, kind of too open to where they don't even really know what we're thinking. And so it'd be nice if they were to add on to and complement it instead of, us 3 separate entities trying to come together and all bombarding the city manager with 3 different competing ideas.
So does the rest of the commission understand what the chair is putting out there?
I like it, yep.
I wasn't sure if everyone followed what you were
Say it
saying.
again.
You want me to say it again?
Yeah.
Okay, so in a letter that said that instead of us going to council with this, what would happen is we would have our ad hoc. The ad hoc would then come back to the full commission. We would decide how we wanted to come up with their ideas and what we wanted to go forward. We would then make a presentation, because it's our initiative, to the Arts Commission and to Parks and Rec and ask to be on their agenda. So then we can get their input and we can get their ideas, and then we can incorporate them all into one, instead of just kind of blank asking them to come up with what they'd like to do with this building and asking Parks and Rec what they want to do with this building. That's just a lot of, that's very disjointed, so I thought
And
maybe.
why wouldn't we go to the planning commission?
I don't know, it didn't say planning, it just said Parks and Rec and Arts Commission.
I think the reason was because the planning commission doesn't, if we're looking at this, the planning commission is a design review for the exterior of buildings. So.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
why. Parks and Rec, because this is a they're dealing with facilities, and this is a facility. And then the Arts Commission, because this is their room for, putting their art, or public art, in this building, right, and in this room. And then the HPC, because it's a historic building. So it's just how the connection flies. And this one more thing, I think when talking about a presentation, I think it would be the ad hoc that would make the presentation and also create the PowerPoint. Otherwise, it's a noticed meeting. And it's their noticed meeting. Not that you can't, not that HPC members can't attend as, members of the public, but it would be, I believe it would be the ad hoc making the presentation.
Right, I just want,
As,
but it
and
does,
presenting them as representative of the HPC.
right, but
And-
it comes from the ad hoc to the full commission agrees on something, then the ad hoc creates a presentation and then goes back out.
Yes.
And is the Parks Commission meeting now?
That was my question.
I'm not sure.
I haven't seen it, all I've seen is cancellations for
2 years.
2 years.
Well, hopefully.
So can
by
we
then.
put in a,
I do
if
know,
they're
I do
meeting,
know
we'll
that they're
go to
trying
them?
to, they're looking for commissioners, and that they have been interviewing people,
Great,
so,
okay, do you want to take it over, Rick?
back to you.
Well, I was just gonna give an update on what Commissioner Moore and I had done in the interim here since the last meeting. And a lot of this has fallen to Laurel, but I was in on some of it. So we did have the lighting specialist that the $90 was for come and look at the room, and that person gave their recommendations. And then subsequently, a local electrician, which was Swift Electric, came in and looked at the room and also gave their opinions and ideas and some pricing. And then I went out because one of the things that we were looking at was possibly the idea of taking up the carpet, and if there was a hardwood floor under here, getting it refinished. And so I contacted a flooring refinishing contractor, and he gave me an idea of a price. So Laurel and I were following our orders that we would get this information together so a picture could be created on what this might cost and what we might do or what might be approved. And that's about where it is now. And then we were sort of given a change in procedure from the city manager. So can you think of anything else I'm missing in that rundown?
Well, to not spend too much time, I met with Jake Swift. Jake, yeah,
Swift Electric.
who I thought was extremely interesting to speak with. He seemed much more knowledgeable about not only Ojai, but this building, and also a lot of options for electrical things. And he noticed, things that were not plugged in, and, he was just overlooking things. But then the city manager came in and made it very, very clear to me in front of Maura, who came with him, and Jake, that I was not allowed in this room. I was not allowed to get any information. I was basically told to leave, and loudly and aggressively. And my thoughts right now is that what kind of a city government do we have? Do we have a city government run by a city manager, or who we report to? Or do we go to, this is what I took from my review of and the watching of the ethics workshop.
So I have to interrupt you,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The discussion's not about ethics tonight. The discussion is about what to do with the chambers, and if you want to keep, and what to report and where to go.
Well, I don't know
and-
what to
and where-
report because I
okay,
was
so and
told
where to
not
go
to
from
make
here.
reports.
So I think, I think what may have been, what was discussed with the chair previously was to maybe table this item, I think, until it's discussed with the council, maybe, but if the chair could take over and talk about what the next
Well,
direction is, or forward direction?
Okay, so I'm really sorry that when I imagined these two individuals, they have such expertise in something like this. It seemed like it would be a great first ad hoc for you. So I'm sorry you had a bad experience. We're trying to remedy that and go forward. But if we can just focus on what we were talking about, we're a little bit not clear on our role here, and that's something that we're going to be talking about in a future item of what we want to talk to council with on our joint council meeting. But we are under the impression that when we are on just a discovery mode, we have a landmark here. It's used all the time. It has a lot of wear and tear. It's been talked about for years to do something. It's not used as much. Should we just look into, do some discovery? And we're not making decisions. We're not hiring people. We're not taking multiple bids. We're not doing anything. We're just trying to say, okay, well, just from a historic point, what are the things that are falling apart in here? What's the chair's banged up against the woodwork and it's getting shabby, and we have our little list, and then, well, what is that dream list of really saying this is an amazing gift, this property that was given to us, and to really honor it and to showcase it. What would that look like? None of that is in our ability to make it happen. That's not what we do. We're just researching and talking. We're volunteers, appointed officials from the city council to get as much discovery as we can. But when it comes down to it, it's not our decision, but it is we feel, from looking at our job and our code, it's our job to come up with the information. What the city decides and what the council decides to do with that information, that's up to them. But we felt that we were in our lane. And so there's some confusion of whether or not we are in our lane or not. And so that's what we want to talk to council about. So that's where it's maybe we have information. It might be good to table it until we can get a little bit more clarity about our role. So.
Question, is there a way that we can somehow, and this is I'm sorry for my own inexperience, but is there a way we can, agree on some sort of motion or something that would allow the city council to give us the approval to do things like that?
Well, that's what the joint council meeting is for on March 25th. It's a future item in this packet tonight, and we're going to decide as a group what we want to talk about. And so and we also have to think about, even though I know that Commissioner Akins and myself on many occasions have asked to have it not backed up against city council, so it's not a hard hour, but it is a hard hour. So we've kind of really asked for a year and a half to get 1 hour, and I find that insulting, because we do give a lot of time.
And we're volunteers as well.
To get that 1 hour it's gold. And so we're going to be discussing later what we want to fit in that hour. And if we do bring up a discussion like this, it does have the capability of it being a low, what's our highest priority? And that's what we need to discuss. Because if something like this, which if we decided not to do anything with the chambers for another couple of years, I mean, it's kind of been bounced down. It's not going to, this is ideal. But do we want to take up a lot of the time at our meeting on this and then beg for another year and a half for another meeting when, like the last time, there was so much time that was taken with history of commissions followed by structures of merit conversation that we never got to talk about the downtown historic district. So that got bumped, and it's been a year and a half now. So it is frustrating when you do have that hour. So we do have to, when we get to that item, decide how much do we want to take this, because I think it's not really this item, it's more holistically how we do our job, like how we look at things. So let's get to that other item. But in the meantime, until we understand our role, I think we do have to just kind of go, thank you for your information, hold on to it, and then move to the next item.
And if I could just interject, I think, so my staff report is, it's so brief, and especially the last part, at this meeting, that this is what's happening, or actually the part since then the city manager directed, blah, 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 that part. So where you are at this moment, coming from me, is that the commissioners, come in this room, it's a historic structure, it's a historic room, there are different objects of record in this room, the wood beams, and basically it's the wood. And as a commission, I know there's an idea of talking to other commissions, but as a commission, it's like, what? Because of historic preservation, we feel that there should, I'm just making this up, okay? There should be fewer chairs, and they stay, X number of feet from the walls, and perhaps we can have an understanding in this building that that's what happens. That the wood gets patched and stained, and that the lights become, we have some historic looking lights, and here are some pictures of, some specks of lights that we think would look good in this room. And the drapes removed to expose the wood. And then those ideas would go through me to the city manager. That's kind of how things lie at the moment. So what happened previously is lack of communication and direction, perhaps, and and understanding, and a line was crossed. And we, put myself with you, brought in a professional to give a bid, or, and give some information, where that's not our purview. We're not the ones who go out and get a bid. It's the commission, it's the city manager who then decides, with or without the council, I don't know, but decides whether or not the city wants to spend money and time and on this room, on these ideas, and then takes that forward. So, but it's just like whether it's him or whether you take it to the council, do they want to move forward with this? And so right now, the word is that the city manager is in control of the facilities, and this is a facility.
I
So I just wanted
Yeah,
to,
I
I
do
just
wanna-
wanted you to, I just wanted to go there, because what happened was, we brought a professional in,
Right.
and paid him for his time to come in here and look where we weren't supposed to do that.
Right.
Okay, we crossed the line, and it wasn't anybody's
So,
fault. It
In
was,
my opinion, which is how I worded it, if that's our education, that was what we were, I've watched enough city council meetings, I watched all the city council meetings. I know that one of the first questions that they're gonna have is, well, how much is it gonna cost? And then we would have to reply, we have no idea. And I think that is what we wanted to do. We have like our little list and we have our dream list. It's somewhere between maybe 10,000 and, 50,000. So we just wanted to be able to sound educated from what
Right.
we have learned and do our due diligence. So that was the reason for getting people in, not to hire them. It was just so we could give ballpark ideas.
but
so
it wasn't we were crossing a line. It was not up to us to
Right.
bring a professional into this building. It was somebody else's decision, and through Public Works,
Yeah.
to get a bid.
Yeah, I
Or
do-
to find out what a cost is. I just wanted to give
Yeah.
the whole commission a little bit more background. And so, do you
Yeah, I just
do you want to table this until you go to, and I'm not asking you to answer this to me, but do you want to table this until you go to the to council and in a joint meeting, and, or do you want to gather your information about what your ideas are and take them to the city manager, who will then, it's his job, what he's saying, to find out through Public Works how much it would cost and what that looks like.
May I make a comment?
Of course, I was just trying to give more information about what happened and where we are.
Well, this was education for $90, and I don't know if all of you know Jake Swift.
It wasn't our, right.
He is probably, I can't say this publicly.
It wasn't, we weren't allowed to get a professional
Is
in
one of the
here. Right.
very bad, he's the only one I use.
That's fantastic, but
And I
we're
don't-
not
will
allowed
he
to
come
do that.
back? And
It's
does-
not, that's not the issue.
Is the
But-
city gonna know
Okay.
who to call?
So
Right, but that's.
it's not up to us, it's up to Public Works.
But we're historic preservation.
Yes, you are, but it's not your job to get a bid.
So-
It's your
so that's
job to
what
say
we-
that you want the lights to be
Yeah,
changed.
I just wanted it to go on record
I just
that-
wanted to give more information.
Yeah, and I just
I'm
wanted-
not here to convince anybody of
Sorry.
anything.
I just want to go on record by saying, we weren't trying to hire anyone to do actual work. We were just trying to, yeah, so I just want to make it clear to anybody that's watching or listening,
But
that
I
we're
think,
just trying
I
to
think
get
that's why
information.
it's a question that we need to broach with the council at our meeting, because it has to do also with the structures of merit. When we worked for a year with no indication that there would be any other recommendation by staff, and they never came to our meeting, never talked to us, never did anything. And then after we had finished our business, came through with their own recommendation that was completely different and completely negated some of the things that we'd been telling property owners. So it just says in the historic language in the code that we will make a recommendation to the council. And so we need to find out, well, if the city manager is gonna just jump in and do it his way, then why even have a commission? Why? I think you have a commission because they are city officials that have a job to do that's spelled out in the code, and we're trying to do that. If they want to then tell their city
So
manager.
that's, Craig, I think that's our discussion of what we want to bring to,
Right,
so
but
that's a
I'm just
future. but that-
pointing out that
right.
it's a bigger issue than
But we are
just
gonna
this
get to
one.
that, because we're gonna have to decide what we want to bring to our joint meeting, and that's
Right.
obviously discussing what the code is and what our lane actually is, because there seems to be a confusion between what we think it is, what we are interpreting the law to be, and how the city manager is seeing it. So that's why we need to bring council into it, so we can move forward and not have a lot of time wasted in frustration. So I think that, I don't think we necessarily need to table this. I just think that no action can be taken this month, but I would like to see this come on next month. Yes, Brian?
I'd like to hear from Commissioner Moore, if we could, please.
Manager Ben Harvey said the only people who care about what this room looks like is the HPC. And he had no interest in talking at all to anybody, to hear anything. He made that very clear to me. I was yelled at for 10 minutes, and that's what happened. So, you know, we will be bringing this over to the city council, because he doesn't want to do any of this. He made that clear.
Okay, so
So we'll just move on.
So for this item, we're just going to, this was our discussion, there's no action taken, and we're just gonna
Right.
move along. But we would like to see this on next month, so, can we bring this back in April? Can we skip a month? Because our next, meeting comes before the council, the joint
You
council.
can absolutely skip a month. You can skip 3.
No, I'm talking about this particular item about the chambers. Doesn't really make sense to have it on the March, because the March meeting comes before so if we can have it come to the
You
April
don't have
meeting?
to have it on every meeting just because you have an ad hoc committee.
So do you? were gonna talk about No, this particular
You were gonna talk about this, you said.
no, that's a different item. That's the actual what we're gonna discuss. But this item of the work that they're doing, based on their work, we don't really know the direction we're gonna do it until we talk to council. So if it's okay, I would like to have it on the April agenda.
Well,
after-
I'd like, Mara, maybe you can get this information. Who's in charge around here? Who's in charge of the commissions? Does the city council, I don't know the answer to this in today's world here in Ojai. Does the city council report to Mr. Harvey? Or does Mr. Harvey report to the city council? Which way is it? Do you know?
The city council is the top dog. The city council is the boss. He works for the city council, just like the rest of us.
So if the city council says, we want to talk about this room, then he can't say we can't? Well, it's
You know what,
important because
okay,
how,
you know what, I feel really put on the spot right now, and I don't
I
find it,
didn't mean for you
okay.
to be put on the spot.
Okay, but I do, and I don't even feel like it's really an appropriate question. So you guys can talk, you have your meeting with the city council, your joint meeting, and,
And also, you can go to the city council meetings and you can talk in public comment, whatever you want to say. But you can have that 3 minutes to say what you want, because otherwise, I mean, we gotta, okay, so let's move along to the next item, which is the California State Downtown Historic District. When you're doing your staff report, can you start it in January? Because the November back is the local district. So the only really pertinent,
so when I do these staff reports, or when I make a presentation, I always just go back to the last meeting. And so that'll be the January 9th meeting, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, all the other stuff that goes.
Oh,
on-
right. Actually, that was going to be part of my presentation. I was going to ask you, or ask the commission, if I can drop all the rest
Yeah, just
and just kind of start afresh with State Historic District.
please.
Okay.
That's that.
Fantastic.
Because if we can table this information so it stays together on an imaginary
Yes.
shelf someplace, so when we do come back to it, we have this and don't
Yes.
delete it.
It will be kept, a record, for
Good.
sure.
Yeah, but, so if we can just have it start,
Thank you. You're a step ahead of me. So at the January 9th meeting, the HPC voted in favor of tabling the Ojai Civic Center Historic District designation discussions and focus efforts on educating themselves and the public on the benefits of the city being designated a state historic district. And I know I just read that verbatim, but that's as far as we got, pretty much. And I'm going to open it up to the commission. And from here forward, this January 9 will be the first entry on the next staff report, because it's like a ledger, right? It's like a diary.
Right.
So tonight's meeting will be the second entry.
So one of the things that we talked about with the State Historic District was how frustrating it was that this wonderful gift that doesn't happen, this is very serendipitous the way this happened, without our even knowledge, that it was shelved. But in reality, we took this information and did the exact same thing. We were like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It looks just like, and then we kind of shelved it too, because we wanted to focus on the local district. And it is a more complete telling of the history of Ojai, from the Rancho era to the mid-century. But this particular state downtown historic district happened, and it's real. And we are on this state historic resource for the state of California, our downtown. And there's a wonderful document that tells all about it. And we just kind of wanted to change focus for a little while, because we felt like we were just running up against the same arguments and fears that I think if we start from saying that this has happened back in 2018 and there wasn't any, the world didn't come to a stop, and it's amazing, and this is this great thing. Craig was looking into an actual, the plaque and what it would look like and how much it would cost, and trying to think of how we could tie it into Ojai Day, because Craig was also, and I think Brian was also talking about how there was conversations about how Ojai Day should be more historic, bring more Ojai history into it. So that was our thought of changing focus, was to use the state historic district in the same way that the local historic district would be, which is talking to planning, trying to get fees waived, because when you are taking care of a property in a state district, we should be very grateful that we have these wonderful property owners that are looking out for these properties, and they should have benefits like having their fees waived, and having, if they're contributing property, to be able to have access to the Mills Act, or use the State Historic District code, building code, or there's just many things. And we've never taken the time to just say, this already exists for you. And the fact that the State Historical Building Code's never been used is kind of proof that we really need to go spend however long it takes to sit there and celebrate the district, work with the property owners with the property owners in mind, since it's already happened, and sit there and say, okay, well, you have this, what can we do for you? What can the city do for you? And show the community that it's how amazing it is, and why it's so amazing. Have some public outreach about it. We were talking with Mark Lewis and with Brian Akins about doing something at the museum, maybe with the San Buenaventura group, to Steve Schaefer having like photos and of the downtown, because he teaches photography, and he's does a lot of history stuff with Ojai. But there's so many things that we can do. So that's kind of where we wanted to take it. We noticed that even when the language comes from the city, instead of calling it a California State District Resource or whatever, it's often called the City of Ojai, Ojai Avenue, Maricopa Highway Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Improvements Project. It would be really nice.
It's not our document, and that is the title of it.
Yeah.
So
But-
it's a Caltrans document.
Right.
Thank you.
But going forward, I think that we need to sit there and say, okay, that's what it came from, but this is what it's what it is. And this is the list that it's on. This is why, because it sounds like we're trying to do some sort of not stay in our lane and get ourselves involved in some pedestrian bicycle safety thing, but that we're not doing. We're just trying to, so I think it's.
So, yeah, and actually the commission might not know that the Caltrans did this because of a sidewalk and
Exactly.
public right-of-way improvement plan. And that's how this all came about. In the future, certainly the whole title doesn't need to be put on your agenda, but that is the title of the document that you all received. You'll
Right.
see it on the front page.
Yes, and I just, so that's kind of where we're at, and I think that Craig and I and Brian have had so much background on what we want to do forward. I think we need an ad hoc to continue. I'd like it to be the same people who were on but I don't know if Brian, because it's more celebratory and not as much nuts and bolts of contacting property owners, if it's something that you're still interested in, if you feel like you had enough with other ones. I think that the person that we would need, and we had contacted Craig contacted Mark Lewis, he agreed to be on the ad hoc as well. I think we need to get outside people involved, because we don't have to worry about our numbers then. That maybe Jenny, I don't know if her availability and how busy she is, that used to be on our commission, but to put together celebration, a party, something, a city tied in thing that maybe can be with the museum or Ojai Day, that just makes everybody know. So it's like two components. One is educate everybody that it exists, and the other part is what benefits can we offer these people who are in it that would be the same benefits they would have gotten had it been a local district, and see what we can do there. So that's kind of the direction that I see it. Anybody want to weigh in?
I have a couple thoughts.
Okay.
The first is that Brian spent sounds like years working with the property owners and doing all this to not embrace I think that this is perfect for.
I can't hear you.
I apologize. I was just wanting to say that it seems to me that Brian spent years meeting with the property owners and working on this, that if this is about a celebratory presentation, that it would really be nice if you wanted to, of course, to be included.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to, I want it to be up to Brian. I don't want to be like, I'm saying you have to do this. But yeah, Brian and I started the ad hoc together, working years and years on this, and then Craig doing it as a private citizen, not being on the commission. And then, yeah, so that's it was years. But I think it felt like, I have a stew analogy. I felt like we had created this stew. We worked amazing trying to get all of these sourced wonderful ingredients, and then no matter what we did, we just kept getting this sugar and salt dumped into this stew, and it just didn't taste good, and nobody wanted to eat it, even though we know that it's the right thing to do, and it's the best thing for it's the healthiest stew you ever want, and it's gonna have, but it doesn't. It's almost like we need to go, well, we have this beautiful soup over here that's already made. Let's enjoy the soup, and then let's figure out how we can sit there and say, okay, what can we do to fix this stew to make it more palatable? Because something along the way, it just seemed like, and they're all obvious reasons. We had COVID. We weren't able to reach out to people. We had we didn't have a staff meeting to get permission to do outreach. And while we didn't, the messages were already out there. We were playing catch up the entire time. And catch with our message, it just was very frustrating, because we were seeing information come out there and we were sitting on our hands just watching it, because we had to get counsel and they couldn't see us because it was COVID. It was just, years of frustration. I will still believe that the local downtown historic district, telling the complete story from the Rancho era to the mid-century, is the complete picture of Ojai. But currently, it's a hard sell. and we have this thing already done. So
And you're speaking specifically about the properties that would be included in the local district that are not included, that are not, you want to increase the scope to include those extra that aren't in the state right now, but would be in the local.
right, I mean, that was the plan. If you look, it's the same shape that this downtown state historic district is. It just includes a bigger area because we went back from Rancho to mid-century, and it included a lot more buildings. But with that, it's really hard to, I think it's time to sit there and say, in a backdoor fashion, to say, okay, this already happened.
It already exists for
And it
most.
already exists, and you're already a part of it, and then you have all these benefits you haven't even accessed. Let us help you, with this district that you're in, so you're getting as many benefits and as many things as we can provide, and as we can work with planning, with council to really make it good for everybody, to make it really property owner incentive to something that already exists. And then I believe that once everyone realizes that we aren't, we aren't trying to do overreach, we're not trying to make things difficult for property owners. We're actually trying to not only look out for the greater good of our little downtown, but also look out for our property owners and our shopkeepers. And I think that if we do it through the state of district and everybody understands that, then at that point we can go, okay, who wants to take on this part? And then, bring that back around. However long this takes to, I just think that it's probably a smarter way to do it, a more fun, a campaign that already exists, so no one has to be, pitting property owners against property owners, and who said yes, who said no. If you say, it's such a hard climate out there right now anyway, politically, and with our council and with everything. If we can find an inroad that's fun and pleasant, that gets the same job done, and then circle back around to a bigger story, I just think that that's a good way of doing it. And then that's kind of what I hope. Please.
Right, and there's also a lot of benefits that come with being in the downtown historic district on the state register, with the building code, with there's a CEQA exemption number 31 that they can be eligible for if they just renovate their store or their building. It's possible that we can get Mills Act for some of these contributing properties. They're not eligible now through the city, but it's something we could talk to the city about, whether they would want to extend their umbrella of Mills Act properties from landmarks to buildings that are on the, that are part of a historic district.
Contributing buildings.
So it would just be a 1 or 2 word change in their code. So part of it is educating the property owners and the community as to what benefits there are for them, as well as just being a part of this wonderful thing that when you are part of a historic district, it tends to build pride by the community and by the property owners. They tend to want to restore their buildings to look more like they were and kind of get into that mode. So I think taking some time just to focus on that and build on that is a good idea.
Ryan?
So, interesting. Again, thank you, Commissioner Levitt. Actually, the three of us, 2 of us who were commissioners, and Craig wasn't on the commission at that time, so it helped us to have 3. Did a lot of work. Each person had their strengths. I decided what I would do, because I like going out and meeting people, was to contact the parcel owners. That took 9 months to achieve what we did. As for, so there's a quandary here, and I talked about this with Mara today. So before we went out and we talked to people about the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, which is the name we came up with as part of the process. We went to the council and we made a pitch to them. We got a joint meeting, made a pitch to them specifically on the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, and got their approval to go forward on that, because it was going to take, although staff time wasn't allocated on that, it was still the fact that we were going out and representing them. We were kind of the person that was there. And so we went, we did that. We divided the 5 people we had up into ad hocs that did different things. We were very careful not to overstep that. And so then the whole commission was finding ways to get out and put information together. We had a great set of FAQs that were, Gina, I think, and Jenny Prebor worked on that. But so the communication to the parcel owners was to go out there and to appraise them of everything that was just mentioned in the last few minutes. I did talk to them about the State Historic District, because they asked what would the changes be if we did become a historic district, a local historic district. And I could point out to when we finally found out that we were a state historic district, that it did impact people such as El Roblar. They had to go out and because of the CEQA requirements, different things that took place because of that. So that was discussed to them when they said, so what's the impact? And I would be able to share with them, well, we now have a state historic district. This is the impact we're seeing from that, so they could see that. The California historic guidelines that we didn't, that wasn't known as well as learning about it when we were going through the long discussion on the structures of merit. And so, that's a carrot that's out there that they're talking about. Again, before doing that, we went to the city council. So for all of those years, the State Historic District has existed as a state historic district. You can see it in the chart, the blue line that's in there. Never in all those years has the State Historic District been taken up by the city council. Never has it been recognized by the city council as something that's a gift, as Gina said, to us. Having talked with the people that have businesses downtown, maybe 50% of them would think it's a gift. The other 50% of them would think the state was impeding on their right to do whatever they wanted. And I think I'm a nicer guy than the state, so they didn't, roast me. I could blame it on those guys up in Sacramento. Again, I had, in the later parts of last year, had said that my plan was to kick off, to start the efforts again for the Ojai Civic Center Historic District. That was the plan. That's what I put on the agenda. If you look at the agenda for January 9th, it was to talk about the Ojai Civic Center Historic District. We then morphed into that to the State Historic District. My concerns that I shared with Maura is, again, we are making plans and we are making goals, and I applaud that, getting information out to people about the State Historic District. But moving forward on that, I think, as I did on the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, requires us going to the city council and availing them of what our plans are, and then getting the buy-in from them in order to switch it from the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, which is basically it expanded it north and south. As they said, it was in this room in, I think, October of 2017. Caltrans showed up and they said they wanted to discuss with us historic curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. And we said, well, that's great. Have fun. Don't know how many curb, gutters, and sites. And so they did a fabulous report that we didn't know about for 2 years. Fabulous. We had been salivating to have the money from the city council in order to get a report like that, and all of a sudden it's there. So the one thing I've heard is, again, talking with Maura and tonight, is that we could work with the community, come up with a state historic district, and people would see that, oh, well, it's not that bad after all having a state historic district, and then come back to look at the Ojai Civic Center Historic District. To give you an idea of the presence of what's going on with the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, the Vice Chair and the Chair and myself went to the Planning Commission meeting last week, spoke, I answered some questions that they had, and then I was approached by Planning Commissioner Jamie Bennett, who said, "What the heck are you doing with the downtown, the downtown historic district?" Few of us can. I have to do the OCCHD. I have to look at the letters in order to remember it's the Ojai Civic Center Historic District, since we called it the Downtown Historic District for so many years. So he asked us what the heck is going on with that. We told him that, I in my response told him that, the commission had taken a different venue or a different choice January 9th. And so we were tabling that at that time. But that was a question that one of the planning commissioners asked us in wondering what's going on. Again, concerns. It is a state historic district. It is important. There are benefits. Again, those benefits were discussed with each of the parcel owners in what the upside was to them in order to end being signing up for the Ojai Civic Center Historic District. I mean, many of the things that they've just mentioned and part of the reason we went to originally we were going to go to the Planning Commission was to work with them for an overlay, because currently the downtown has 5 different overlays. They talked about that at the Planning Commission. We had talked as a goal for that, as a benefit, was to take it from the 5 overlays. There's 4 that they mentioned in Planning Commission, 2 of them having to do with the arcade, to just a single overlay for that historic district itself. One of the benefits. So where are we at now? We are, to me, I'm still waiting to see for guidance from staff on whether we are ahead of our skis in what we're doing prior to talking to the city council. So
That'll be an item coming up tonight, too, what we're going to talk about at our
it
city
is.
council.
That's why I haven't talked about
So,
it.
and if you have the January packet still, that's the, this is. Yeah, this is all over I can give this to you because it's on the city site, it's everywhere. The blue line is the state, and then you can read what's what.
And part of the reason why you got the full-length packet that came from Caltrans that Mara provided for you was so that you would have all of the information for the Ojai Civic Center Historic District.
So I suggest that you not throw it out, because we're not going to make a copy of it for.
Stop giving it away.
Yeah, if you have this on assuming this is going to be on the agenda for every meeting, we won't be putting it in your packet every time. We can provide you with a link so you can see it on the website, but a hard copy, you have your hard copy. And
Yeah,
that's your hard
Lorraine and I
copy
both gave our copies away.
Right, and Lorraine got a new one. Did you get a new one?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Would it be possible to make like 5 copies of this so that we can all have one?
We have it.
Can't hear you, Mr. Levitt.
It was in the packet last month, too.
Yep, it's in the
Okay,
packet.
so,
It's in the Caltrans, no, it's not in the Caltrans report. It's in the
so
packet.
Commissioner Levitt, I'm going to remind you to turn on your speaker every time you speak, even if it's just something like, can we make copies of this? And I can get you a copy of that for sure, and anybody else who wants one.
Okay.
And also just to
Thank you.
acknowledge, you're welcome, acknowledge what Commissioner Akins asked me this afternoon. So the direction I got after having a conversation with you this afternoon is that you do not need council permission to educate yourselves and others regarding this existing state historic district. The reason that you did for the other is because you were trying to create it. and, you know, as a commission, and going out and getting people to, because, you know, you have to have the 50% plus one, or whatever it is, buy-in from the community, or the property owners within the district. So, our proposed district. So it's kind of it was a different animal. And so educating yourselves and the public regarding this existing document and celebrating it is something that you can do without getting council permission. But there's no staff time involved in that.
True. So do you think we can order a plaque without council approval?
We could bring that up when we meet with joint council. We could show them.
I think it's in our,
I imagine to display a plaque outside in the city that you would need council approval for that.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
It is part of-
Educating yourselves and the city is what you can do without council approval.
Craig, did you send that to everybody, the picture of the plaque, or was that just for the other plaque?
well, there's a standard plaque that the state
one with the
has with the
state with the
bear
bear?
up in the top and then the description. And I went to their webpage and they said that you could order one of these plaques if you were on the California Register of Historic Places, and they would put whatever the text was you wanted with the number and so forth, and it was a cost of $2,900, including shipping, if you wanted to buy their plaque. But it said you didn't have to buy their plaque, you could create your own, but it seemed like an official state plaque would be nice.
So, assuming and we both still want to be on this ad hoc.
Yeah, the three
And
of us.
do you still want to be on this? Well, I asked you, I'm just assuming, I don't want to assume. Do you still want to move forward?
Of course, I'm happy to support anything that's historic. I
Okay.
just, again, as both of you know, am always very careful to not overstep when it comes to the city council.
Right. So, I mean,
So,
and I also just want to make it clear that this isn't as far as the local district, I mean, yeah, it was years of our lives. And I still think it is a really good idea. And I think that we're going to have a lot more buy-in if, with just taking a step back, going this way and then bringing it back. Because I think, but I don't know if it's me still chair or somebody else, I have no intention of tabling this for any longer than it's necessary. I'd like to talk with the museum, see if there's any wiggle room that we can have a display. I don't know if their schedule, and I know that I would like it to be this year, even if it was something where we had to do it different, outside party with Ojai Day, something where it just acknowledges this but once we got past that, once we got past any sort of benefits and we understood that and we did reach out and we had education opportunities, we worked with the museum, we got a plaque, we celebrated Ojai Day, then we did our job. We let everybody know that this gift that we got, we did our job. And with that job, hopefully additional benefits that we were able to offer our property owners. And then, yeah, I mean, bring that back. Hopefully the climate, the temperament, the personalities of discontent will have come around and realize that we are looking out for the best of everyone's interest, not just, I have my old, shaking the can with the quarters in it, for save the clock tower. It's like, no, we actually we've worked years on this. We've taken many, many years of education on this. We are only going forward with it because we really believe that it's the best thing for the city of Ojai. And that's what we decide as an ad hoc, and then back to the commission with the local district. And that's why we've brought it to council, because we had such belief in it. But we had just so many things stacked up against us. I just think that if we just celebrate what we have, show everybody it's good, and then go back to work on what we were originally working on. That's, it wasn't like throwing it out, you know, it's just
On hold.
on hold to just give the state district just a chance to shine, because we never gave it a chance to shine. So do we have to take a vote for an ad hoc for the three of us? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to start an ad hoc with Craig Walker, Brian Akins, and myself for the State Historic District.
I second it.
Okay, roll call?
Levitt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
McCatton,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Akins.
Yes.
Basasha.
Yes.
However, I caution you, you all have to show up. Getting back to the math question at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, now we're on the fire resilient downtown. Do you want to do a staff report on that?
I'm sorry, what?
The fire resilient downtown?
Number 6, item number 6, fire resilient downtown. So after a review of the HPC's functions and duties outlined in the code section 4-8.05, staff recommends that the commission identify how the ad hoc is within the functions and duties and in the purview of the HPC. This came about after, actually, I read this backwards. On January 9th, in the HPC meeting, the HPC voted in favor of creating an ad hoc to research avenues for disaster preparedness in the downtown. And that ad hoc includes McCatton and Moore. And after review with the city attorney, the HPC's functions and duties outlined in the section of the code that I just mentioned, staff recommends that the commission identify how this ad hoc is within these functions and duties, and that it is indeed in your purview, because it's not identified as in your purview through the city attorney's office.
Okay. So I had a different take on it. If you look at our, because you attached our bylaws here, what we are supposed to be following with our code. And if you look at F, advise and assist property owners, to advise and assist owners and landmarks of properties or structures within historic districts on physical and financial aspects of preservation, renovation, rehabilitation, and reuse, and on procedures for inclusion on the National Register. And then I, which is inform citizens, to inform, educate the citizens of Ojai concerning the historic and architectural heritage of the city by publishing appropriate maps, newsletters, brochures, pamphlets, websites, and social media information, and by holding programs and seminars according to work plan, budget, authority approved by council. So just on those two alone, once again, we know from watching city council meeting that, and talking with the mayor and other council members, that fire hardness and fire prevention is something that the council is going to be taking up. We aren't trying to do something separate. We're just trying to educate ourselves, find out if there's anything that we can help, and then just push the information along. So I had asked you before our meeting if you can find out if that's okay, if that's still within our lane. So not as a ad hoc, just, you know, as a commission, if we find out information, we're researching, like I said, I took those 3-part classes from the Preservation Foundation. If there's information that we find out, if there's grant money, it's not like we're gonna try and get a property owner a grant or the city a grant. We just wanna gather that information because it's our job to advise and inform, but we're not gonna do the job. We're just going to let you aware of any benefits or situations or anything that we can help. And I think that's in our lane still.
Okay, and I'm going to get back to you with that. Yeah, we talked about that
Right before the meeting.
right before the meeting, yeah. So I haven't been able to look into that yet.
So that's where we're at on that.
So
Anybody wants
can I
to
give
add
an
to it?
update on that from the community, on the fire resilience? when you're done talking.
Go ahead, you have something? Yeah.
So, Mayor Andy Gilman, he for several years has held a brown bag in Libby Park. It's and I sent the information to our chair so that, and suggested she might attend. And so, and there are other people that have done it over the past years too. So what they do is they tend to invite people from different groups, museum group, the fire safety, different things. Sometimes the mayor, Andy, will ask somebody, is there a hot topic you want us to discuss? So at this last meeting, and it goes from 12 to 1 on that first Monday of the month. And it's very tightly controlled because people are on their lunch hour. And so we spent an hour at the last meeting talking about fire safe and having a fire safe council. And all of the different key people that are could be involved in that, in doing a community, kind of a city council organized community group that would be doing that. And, if someone's there and someone's at that meeting and they come from that meeting or from any meeting and have something to share in commissioner comments, I think that would be a great opportunity. And I've tried to do that in different times in council meetings. But, the city council looking at the HP and saying, well, they're going to spend time talking about the fire resilient downtown. I think it would be why. So I'm just, it's always good to share information, and we're going to get to the education liaison that I wholeheartedly support. But I'm not sure if making this a repetitious post or having an ad hoc committee to form to do this.
We voted to dissolve the ad hoc.
Oh, okay. Oh, back there. So I appreciate the sense, because I know we were talking in the last meeting about the wood structures sorry, Dr. Graham, I switched eye doctors. The wood structures that are on Ojai Avenue, and hopefully we never have to worry about that. But so.
And I just think that sometimes there's initiatives that are undertaken on a city level that sometimes people don't think that there might be special considerations that would need to be thought of for historic buildings. Example would be the city one time initiated this committee to look at murals painted around the city. And at first, I don't think they really considered, well, maybe they should include somebody from the HPC, because maybe a mural on a historic building wouldn't be appropriate. So I think they did later on include someone from the HPC, or even these sidewalks and crossings that were done downtown. That was the trigger, as you pointed out, for the state wanting Caltrans to do a historic report to see if there was anything in that project that could impact historic buildings. And the Caltrans submitted it to the federal government, and the federal government submitted it to the state office, and that's why they concurred that it was a historic district. But they did also, in the process, determine that what was planned, these crosswalks and lights and stuff, would not impact the historic building. So it was one green light that allowed them to go forward. So I think it's useful in two ways. One, just to kind of have be in the loop as to what kind of citywide process goes on that could impact a historic building. But also, if you Google fire hardening and historic buildings, you'll see a bunch of resources come up on what people who own historic buildings can do to make their buildings more fire safe. So I support the idea of the educational aspect of it.
Just one caveat: murals are spelled out in the code, and are involved in depending on where
That's
the
what I
mural is
said,
going to go. Yeah, is there are cases where an HPC representative is called in to be a part of that group considering the mural.
But there, I'm not saying I am against it, but there was a mural put up on the elementary school, which is beautiful.
Right.
But it is a historic building, and there was no communication, I don't think, with the commission about it. I'm not sure it really mattered, but that's just my point. that-
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying. I talked to Ray Powers. He and I talked, and then I reported it to the commission when that was taking place. And historic, it wasn't part of the landmark, and
No,
so
but it still was a historic building. It was,
I was
bound
there
to
for
be.
that battle.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely understand what you're
that's
talking
what
about.
we're saying.
So,
So-
Chair, I realized when you asked me if I wanted to give the staff report on this, I kind of spaced the fact that you just, that the, I mean, not that the topic shouldn't be discussed, but that the ad hoc was dissolved. So, not that it shouldn't still be discussed, and obviously you're discussing it, but
Yeah, so what I would, I don't know, do we need a motion for this, but to have the, have the fire preparedness for preservation be something that we all, whoever's interested in learning more about it, please do, and I think that through the California Preservation Foundation, they can send us to a lot of other resources and Googling, whatever you want to do, whoever's interested in it, and then bring it up in commissioner comments. And if it's something that we feel that we would like to move forward with it, then we can ask for it to be on the following agenda and ask that it go to, send on to the council.
we're having more of a discussion about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't need a motion to,
I don't know, yeah.
to go and do your own thing and bring it back during commissioner comments, and then take it from there as it comes.
Does that sound like a good idea? Okay.
Commissioner Levitt, did you have something?
It just seems interesting to me because fire safety is, of course, with the terrible disaster in the Palisades, as an owner of well, can I say something as an owner of a Mills Act property? Seriously.
Yes.
I'm concerned about glass, and fire, I guess, is, glass windows, especially older glass, is very susceptible to breakage during, heat events. And I kind of briefly looked into, well, what can we do to kind of possibly retrofit? And it's extremely expensive, like even, the best would be ceramic glass. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that is something we could do would be to give an incentive to different, well, this is going to sound self-serving, but
Right, and it's also, it's moving on with the
Yeah.
top, and
Okay.
to like
So
kind of
I-
a different
so
discussion.
I
Yeah,
pass.
so we'll just work on self-education and what we can come up with, whoever's passionate about it. I think that, when you talk about other towns, like even Santa Barbara, it's like, there's so many areas that you could call the center of town, or we have like that little block, it's our arcade. And if the arcade suddenly didn't exist any longer, tourism, everything would just come to such a halt, because that is the flavor of why people come. It's because of the arcade, it's because of our history, and if that's suddenly burned down, it's a different Ojai. And so I think that as the Historic Preservation Commission, it is our responsibility to try to research and educate ourselves to, if there's anything that we come up with, just send it along to council and say, hey, we found this out. This might be something. And I think that's in our lane. So I'm going to just keep it more of an education, and then if we find anything, to bring it up in commissioner comments next month.
I think you also, no, I like what you're saying, what both of you suggested. So one of the things that I plan to do on the Mills Act is to see if I can invite one of the two people I'm talking with at county, so that they could just tell us what they are. And the reason I'm doing the Mills Act, just real quick so you understand why my fascination, is that for those 9 months, one of the big benefits I told people they would have, what we're trying to get to, was Mills Act. And to me, what I knew about Mills Act was the savings is between 40 and 60%, and pretty much that's it. And so I delved
let's stay
into
on-
this
let's
for
stay
the
on
ad
topic.
hoc. Yeah,
Let's stay on topic, please.
just to get, to
Yeah.
understand that.
So, let's move on to the next item, which is the Ojai Valley Trail plaques discussion.
Yes.
We have a staff report.
Yeah, so at the December 12th meeting, the commission requested that this item be placed on a future agenda for discussion. And so it is on this agenda. And the discussion, is that the rain? No. The discussion is to review the potential of creating and placing plaques along the Ojai Trail to identify historic sites. And then after the meeting, staff notified the commission that the trail is within the county's jurisdiction and that they would need to be contacted in order to, regarding any signage. And since then, past the deadline to get something in the packet, I received something from a commissioner, and so it ended up being put in public comments. However, because it was put on public comments and it was passed to you tonight and it's on the table outside, we are going to, and next time, we'll just try and get things in on time. But because of that, I'm going to open this up in a moment to Commissioner Walker to talk about the item that, the information that he's provided regarding trail plaques. And just so you know, always be prepared to talk about your item. If you're on an ad hoc, it's going to be on the agenda. Well, I guess it's not always going to be on the agenda, but it usually is. If you have information and it doesn't get on that agenda, at least you did the work and it'll get on another agenda. This is what I told Commissioner Akins. So anyway, with that, I'd like to open it up to the commission, but specifically Commissioner Walker, to talk about the information that he has provided.
Okay, thank you. And you should each have a copy of this sheet. On the back side is just a sample that I took from some other city that had a historic trail that was based on their old train tracks. And I just took the liberty of putting some photographs from Ojai and superimposing them on. But so the train tracks are not Ojai, but the pictures are. And then a sample of what one of those markers might look like, although there's a variety. And again, I want to be careful because I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and this involves not only Ojai, and but it would also involve the county, because the county owns the trails all except, I think, the little short part that goes through the park and goes across the streets. I think those belong to the city as well, but the majority of it belongs to the county. And we didn't want to get a hold of the county and really talk to them at all about it before we had spoken to you, to see that it was something that the commission supported. And I don't even know if it's something that would be practical on the Ojai Trail to have such markers, or whether the county would be open to it, but we would definitely not make any decisions with them or work with them. We would just, it's just an inquiry to see if they, and I did email the lady who kind of seemed to be in charge of it, and I just said we were looking into this, and she seemed fine with the idea. She said, well, that sounds like a good idea. There'd have to be funding, and she even suggested there might be some grants that could be gotten to put these in. So right now it's just strictly conceptual, and it's just to get your support for it. What we did is we tried to put a list of potential topics that could go on these, and then I found some websites of other trail markers along similar trails. I read somebody on the Facebook page the other day that didn't even know that the trail was the old train tracks, and how nice it would be. There was so much activity that happened along those train tracks, and was because it went from 1898 was when it first opened as a train up until 1969, I guess, was the flood that wiped out most of the tracks, and it stopped running completely. But it was a passenger train for about half of its existence. And then with the automobile, the passenger train pretty much faded out, but it hauled the oranges and the Bill Baker's products out to market, and various other, the olive mill was located on it that would be shipped out. So it was in commercial as well as a passenger train. So these would tell the story of the train, but would also tell the story of some of the things people would see as they walk by, or maybe not that they could see it. It might just be something about the Chumash in the Ojai Valley or something along that line. And it could be a combination of grants. It could be funding by the city and the county if they were interested. Another thought I had was that we could come up with a price for what it would cost to purchase one and install it and maintain it, and then businesses could donate the money for one and maybe have their logo on it or something like that.
Okay,
Rick,
can we,
did you want to add?
It seems like the train one would be the logical first one to have, because it's kind of about
Yeah,
the tracks. I was in my mother's garage the other day, and there's a pile of railroad spikes in there that I remember collecting when the train tracks were being torn up. Does anybody else remember that? Getting the
no.
spikes?
But I remember as a kid going down and putting pennies on the track and
Oh, right.
coming back the next day and having them flattened out.
Well, I want to make sure that there's no city input on if we were to proceed with this. Like, would we be stepping on any toes, or is it strictly with the county?
Well, it's the property is owned by the county,
Right.
and so your ad hoc would be, getting with the county and finding out, and, I think there's probably more people to contact and get more input than, sounds good to me. I'm not trying to be critical, but I don't know who it is you spoke to or if she has any powers. And then flag did go up when Commissioner Walker said, there's could be funding, grants, and then also, the city might want to pay for part and the county. And so I was like, okay, this is something that you need to talk to the county, city council about, are they interested? And I guess even bigger than or broader than that, are they interested in their commission, spending their time and energy on putting the plaques on the county trail? So it's a good question for the county, council.
Mm-hmm.
What about Chamber of Commerce input?
Yeah.
Because that would be a big deal. Bring, tourism and.
Yeah, I spent a good chunk of January in Seattle and then in Kauai, and I know I'm on the Preservation Commission, but I search out all of that. I stop, I read everyone. If it's too much to read, I take a photo of it to read later. I know I'm not alone. I know that is what makes a place unique. Otherwise, you're just walking and you have no idea what you're looking at. You don't know the history of where you are, and suddenly you take pride and you take ownership, as residents using our trails. You start to really understand the significance of it. I think it's a great idea, so I like to see it.
Part of our charge, according to the list of items that we're supposed to be doing, is educating people about the history of Ojai, and this, to me, seems like a good opportunity to do that, to inform the public about the history, because I think that when people are informed about the history of their community, I think they're more likely to support the preservation of its historic buildings and want to see those continued.
So as someone who rides up and down the trail, there, if you go past Foster Park there in that area, getting on that side has probably where the city of Ventura line is. They have kind of, that's their thing, and they watch over for it. So one of the things, if you went down the bike trail and got just past where, and dodging the cars going across Santa Ana, you would see on your left, and they have artwork that's all along the bike trail. That highlights, that area, that, they have part of a pump type thing, and because I'm history, I'll stop and look at it. And sometimes I need a break if I'm coming up.
So is that City of Ventura that you're talking
And
about,
I
or is that still in the county?
think it may be just off enough that it's beyond the land. So, but I think it's the city of Ventura.
They'd be a great person to contact then.
Yes. So I will also tell you that I'm thinking you talked to Jerry Armstrong. I was there when she won Miss.
What was her last name?
Yes, that's her married name. Yes. I was there when she won Miss Ventura. I was there when she did it the next week. So, and Coulter Chisholm is her boss. And so I know them too well. So I'm happy to help reach out to them.
Oh, great.
So, but again, if you get just right there, park at the Foster Park, walk down. I think they're still there. They've done so much work on the bike trail.
Right, I think they are.
But yeah, so that's there.
And there was one plaque, actually, that the city of Ventura put in right at the beginning of the trail. So there's only one, but it's the same as this one that you see here. And again, I don't know all the logistics of trying to place it so it wouldn't be a safety problem for bicyclists or anything, but I'm sure, somebody would be able to help. Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. I think that it sounds marvelous. I especially like the idea of, since Maura mentioned that it might be a speed bump, asking the council to pay for some of this. I love your idea of possibly putting just a small, such and such family donated this sign as a way to fund it. So I think that's very, very nice, good thinking there. And I also note that some of these items, like Bill Baker's Bakery, for example, aren't in the county. It's in the city, and so you wouldn't need county approval, right? I guess it would be where you would put it.
It would, like I said in my introduction, I think that some of them could be like, okay, here was where the olive mill, you'd actually be able to see that location because it was next to the train track. But there might be others like Chumash Village or Bill Baker's that would just be historical facts about Ojai with pictures and.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
One thing I'd like to add is that when I worked for the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy, 3 of our areas were near the bike path, and so I often had to deal with the county, and the bike path is actually part of the Parks Department, Parks and Recreation,
Right.
and so really the whole bike path in essence is a kind of a park.
Right.
And when you think about it, there's all these sculptures in Ventura along the bike path. And I don't know what happened to this, but there was a wonderful map and a greater plan afoot for the bike path as a whole, as a kind of recreational byway. And there were all these ideas for things along it. So this idea kind of really fits into the whole vision of that in a sense. And so, I think that the county would be very supportive of that, like you're finding.
So it might be a good idea, then our next step would be if if there's a consensus, to present it to the council and just get their buy-in on the idea, or what do you suggest?
Well, I'm not sure if my suggestions are, I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to suggest as opposed to you coming up with ideas and then voting on it. However, I do think to find out if there are any plaques within the city of Ventura along the path, and then finding out from the city how they dealt with getting plaques that they wanted on the path, right, that are within the city. And then, of course, there's contacting the county and finding out who it is that you're going to talk to and what kind of information that they want, and then getting together that kind of information. So I think there's a couple of steps before making a presentation to them. What is it that they want? How do you do it? Where does the funding come from? Does the city of Ojai need to be involved besides just the commission? And if they do, then we need to talk to the council. So I think you'd have some more information together. That's what I think.
And would we have to present it at our joint meeting, or if it took us a little while longer, could we just put it on their agenda as a discussion item and show up and give them what we know, or?
You can always ask for that.
Okay.
I think the more information that you have, the better, the further along you get. And especially if it doesn't take any funds from the city of Ojai. And it is something that, again, how do other cities, how did they get the plaques there? If there are plaques in the city of Ventura, or if those are all in the county. I don't know. So you have a lot of information, I think, to gather.
Right, okay.
Yes, so Coulter Chisholm and Jerry Armstrong Cooper, the one you talked to, are over the county parks. So they're the people to talk to there.
Yeah, I started a conversation with Jerry, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does
Her
this work?
son's Reagan.
These are questions.
How
How does this work? Questions of these other people,
Yeah,
Okay.
but she would be able to tell, and then, when the sun comes out, I'll ride my bike and see it, take pictures. But I just wonder if it isn't far enough. I don't know what, the right-of-way was for the railroads. They used to give them like whole acres. But yeah, I'm happy to help look
Okay.
into that.
So should we see if everybody is interested to have it go forward?
did you already have an ad hoc on this?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, so it sounds to me like the ad hoc has given a presentation as to how far they've gone, and they're going to go and do more research. I don't know, and come back with more information.
And
So, I guess if you want to, I'm not sure if if it's necessary to take, no, you have an ad hoc that has already
I
been
just-
been
But now they
granted,
did a
so.
presentation back to the full commission, and then the commission then should let them know that whether or not we want them to go further.
Are you supportive of going further?
Yes,
I don't
Or
think,
who else should-
think you need a motion for this.
okay. Everybody else wanted them to go forward? Yeah?
So
Okay.
we'll just update you next month.
Great.
All right.
Okay. And then the next thing is our joint council meeting.
Yes, you have a joint, this is item number 8. You have a joint meeting tentatively scheduled for March 25th at 5 o'clock till 6 o'clock. And the item's been included for the HPC, or this item's been included tonight for the, at the request of the HPC chair to discuss and determine items to take forward. I've already spoken with a couple of you about this, but I want you to keep in mind that you have 1 hour and the time is going to go quickly. And so you want to make sure that you really know what you want to talk about, probably limit your topics, and just, be all together nice and tight before you go to your meeting. So I'll open it up to you to discuss what it is that you want to bring
Okay.
to them.
So, back on the item about the fire preparedness where you made a copy of our code and our responsibilities. I think that is something that we had spoke about at our meeting before, our meeting tonight, about just wanting a really clear direction of we are reading this, we are interpreting this, we watched the ethics video, that, we're understanding, as far as we understand, what the job is of the Historic Preservation Commission and the direction of of what we do, whether it's an ad hoc, comes back to here, from here to council. We just want clarification from council that that is how they see it too. Because we don't want to run into another thing like what happened with, in the chambers with the electrician, and we don't want to have what happened with the structures of merit. We just want to understand that nobody wants to waste their time. We're all volunteers. We want to make sure that we are doing what they want us to do in the way they want us to do it, so there's no confusion. And that, we have a plan to have better communication with our, liaisons and our joint council meetings. So I'm not sure how to do that, where that won't take up a lot of time. But I know that's something that I think we all probably want a little bit better clarification of. Anybody want to?
Can I comment on that? Past experience is that the agenda is laid out between the chair and the mayor. Under the council, under the best laid plans, Mayor Sticks and I, at our last meeting, which was almost 2 years ago, had it planned out minute by minute what we were going to talk about. And then all of a sudden, somebody wanted to, a public comment came in, and they wanted to make their public comment. And then they continued to talk. I was waiting for our timekeeper, Weston, to do the 3-minute. And he spoke up, and then two of the council members, again, 2 years ago, so, fairly new, allowed that person more time. And when you have 60 minutes and you're cramped, and, and talking about this, and just another thing is to understand, and Gina talked with the mayor, I think, on Monday. The wish had been that we not be jammed up against a council meeting. That was conveyed to Mayor Gilman. We are jammed up against the council meeting. We were talking about how long it's been since we've had a joint meeting. I will tell you that we are the first, my understanding is we are the first commission to get a joint city council meeting. So, kudos for us and for being important to the council. Because planning commission, art commission, sometimes they're more sexy than we are.
Kim Mang, Councilwoman Mang, called me tonight, and she's watching us on Zoom.
Neat.
She couldn't come here physically, but she's really excited about
Excellent.
this.
Mayor Gilman, I don't know if the chair got an update. He was tied up with something tonight. He was going to try to come in for, as soon as he could, coming into our meeting. So again, based on past experience, it was that the agenda was set up between the chair and the mayor. We as a HPC had wanted to get, and this goes along with what you were saying, Chair, wanted to get guidance since we had the mayor there. We may also have the city manager there. We wanted to get guidance specifically on the structures of merit, on how we are going to go forward on that.
I mean, last time or this?
In this meeting.
Okay, I'm
Are we taking, who is giving the HPC direction? And I think that is, if we don't get clarification in the joint meeting, we're still in the pause that we're in right now on the structures of merit.
yeah.
So it's a broader topic than just the structures of merit, because it also affects other commissions, other committees as well. So my suggestion is that we approach it from the broader viewpoint of what are the roles, what can we expect to have happen if we're recommending something to the council, rather than just focusing on one of the things or two of the things. Do you see what I mean?
And
I see what you mean, but that 60 minutes goes really fast, and we need to get guidance on a specific item rather than a general item if we can.
But if we
Well-
use the word structures of merit, it's gonna trigger that letter, and it's gonna make people show up. When what we want is time to talk to them about the direction that we wanna go. And so that, I'm just a little leery about those words that is gonna trigger a letter that's gonna make people
And
show
not
up.
only that, but at the last joint meeting we had a clear vote by the council for us to bring these structures of merit to them so that they could decide on them. And then after kind of fine tuning it and holding our public meetings and everything, then we get a recommendation co-opting ours from the city manager that completely undid a lot of the stuff that we've done. So just to say that we're gonna get their approval to do something
That we already got
doesn't
there.
mean anything unless we get an understanding on what that means for us to bring them. Does it mean that we have to clear it with the city manager? Or does it mean that we can tell them, and if they like it, then they can direct the city manager to do what they want?
So I never said the word approval. Again, I've been to these. The goal, and it was our goal, was to get a joint meeting with the council so that we could get guidance from that joint meeting on moving ahead with the structures of
I'm
merit.
so sorry, can you just clarify, was it the last meeting you're talking about, or this coming meeting?
We haven't had a meeting in almost 2 years.
No, I mean, but the last one, our goal was to get them to approve us going forward with the structures of merit, which we did. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about,
No, so currently,
okay,
we have the structures of merit that was gonna go to council, and then something took place and it was pulled from the council agenda.
right.
So there are other things that took place that I don't want to go through here. But so the question is, and it was staff's recommendation that we discuss and take a vote to support going out to doing an RFQ to go out with a third party that would then come in and review our information, and then they would submit it to the council. That's what I was told. So the goal for the joint council meeting was to get direction on who's giving that direction so that we can, once again, and get going on the structures of merit and get it presented to council. And so I'm just asking for the mayor, the city council, what is our direction going forward on this dilemma?
So, one of the things that the city manager does is combine the survey with the structures of merit, which are, for our purposes, two completely different entities. The survey is something that the city of Ojai had made, hired an outside firm to do in 2011, which is now 14, we said 11 years, it's 14 years ago. It's supposed to be updated every 5 years. We contacted the same people who did it. We asked them how much it would be. We got a figure of $8,000 for a drive-by survey update. Craig Walker volunteered to ride shotgun for any questions that he had to help save time and cost. And that is something that we had asked when there was that windfall money in our budget, and we had asked for that to be in our budget. At the time, our liaison was Councilwoman Leslie Rule, and I spoke with her and explained each item with her and what it would cost. And then during that meeting, she brought it up and explained exactly what the cost was. It showed up in our budget, it was approved. It is all that we need to do to stay in compliance with the state of California. We are out of compliance. That is something that this other project that would cost a great deal of money that the city manager wants to do would, as a taxpayer, why do something that you don't need? It's way over the top of anything that we would need to stay in compliance with the state of California, just to update our survey. So I would like to have, to get them to go back to remind them that this was approved and their funds was approved. And if the city manager has another project that he wants to do that's elaborate and expensive and everything, and he can get council to buy into it, more power to him. But this is not it. This is our responsibility that we are doing, that we have approved, that is a low-cost way to stay in compliance with the state of California. So I think that bringing up the survey is something that is really important to council.
And the survey is something that affects the whole town. It's all 2,900 parcels in the town, and that's what the current survey does, and this is gonna update that. Whereas the structures of merit is just 25 buildings that were vetted by the commission. The commission vetted them and drew from the survey, took all of them except 2, I think, were number 1, category 1 historic buildings according to the survey. And then we vetted them. We had a committee that vetted them and decided that, yes, these are historic properties and they need to be recognized by the city as historic. That's all this does, is recognize them as historic.
Can you make sure that our new members have a digital copy of the survey? I sent it to the mayor today, and so I can send you a link to the San Buenaventura site if you would like to see.
Yeah, I don't need a link. We have,
You have it?
we have a digital copy.
Okay.
I'll check and see if they don't have it, then we'll make sure they have
I
it.
know that they don't know what we're talking about, and that puts them at a disadvantage, so.
So I think both projects are important, but they're not really the same thing. The structures of merit would use their category on the survey as evidence, as one piece of evidence that they're historic, but there's other things that went into that. There was research, we did a lot of research on all those structures of merit so that we came to our own conclusion as a historic commission and forwarded that to the city council, and hopefully they were gonna approve it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the State Historic District that was sitting on a shelf. The structures of merit was asked you were asked by the city council to create this list. It was up on the on the city website for years. No one said a word or had a problem with it.
Well, the thing that's kind
And
of
so,
weird about it is that the city staff actually used that survey to determine whether or not a property should be studied for its historic value when it came before the city for a project. And now they don't even use it that way anymore.
yeah, that's why I like the survey, because it is every property, and it cuts out so many of them. If it's utilized by planning, you can just look, oh, it's a 2, don't have to think about it anymore. And that's the majority of the properties are gonna,
Well,
You know.
yeah, out of the 2,900 properties, I think 2,100 of them or 2,500 of them were found to be not historic.
right.
And so those are just automatic when the planner gets a request to demolish or remodel a home, they can look, and if it's a number 2 on the list, they don't have to worry about it. It's not historic.
And it was made by an outside organization, so it's not thought as being a political document, or opinionated document. It's just a document that was paid for by the city for use for the city. So, and we're out of compliance. So, but it seems like even just now with you and I was talking about the structures of merit being up on the city website and then coming down. And then you brought up the other document that I call it the 1, 2, 3 document, but the San Buenaventura, the survey. It's so hard to even with us, it's like, I could see why everybody gets mixed up thinking that they're the same thing, but there really are two
different
very
things.
separate things, the survey and the structures of merit. So, those are two things that we would like direction of what to do with the structures of merit, but I think that if it's maybe, like you said, in the greater scheme of, are we staying on the same path that we already got permission to do this, or are we changing now? It's more of a question of following our code and if they want us to continue that, or if the city manager now is the new, he wants to change the
Sure.
laws. So,
So we should discuss with them the survey, and then we should discuss with them this broader picture of how do we
do our job.
do our job? And that is a topic that encompasses several other topics, so that we don't work for a year and a half like we did, and then all of a sudden, boom, this thing comes in that just muddies the water on it, and
And
it's something that we can't relate to even, and it doesn't make sense to us, and we've never had a chance to even discuss it, to make a recommendation to the council.
So if you took our hour and we divided into 3, 20, 20, and 20, what are those 3?
If I stopped you right there, could we take a 2-minute break so I can go to the ladies' room, please?
Sure.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about the possibility of splitting the hour into 20-minute sections and what to talk about. Okay, Sherry, we're taking a break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then all we have is the education update, which I really don't have an education update, except, yeah.
We're still recording. Are you, don't talk about anything personal.
time we have left in my head. Yeah, so we have that, and then we have the future agenda, so we only have 2 things to get through after this.
We're back on, Sherry.
Okay, so is it realistic to do 3 topics, 20, 20, 20? Yeah? Historically,
I think you should prioritize and make sure you do the most important one first.
yeah, that's what happened wrong
That way,
last
if you
time.
have to extend, then at least you,
Yep, we did it the exact opposite last
I'm
time.
gonna suggest our relationship with the city and that whole question come first.
Okay, because we need to know how we go forward.
And the importance of the commission and what it's supposed to do and what our relationship is to the city.
Yeah, I'm very good with that. Everybody else? Yes,
Yeah, yeah, again, that,
Lorianne?
otherwise we're stuck.
Yeah, and then,
The
And I don't wanna be
survey?
Stuck on the structures of.
yeah, I think the survey is important. What do you think?
Well, I think the survey is important because we want to get that updated, right? We've,
14 years later, and it's a,
but we also
inexpensive
have
fix.
the room. I don't know.
I don't think the room is a necessity, because I think that,
I think the room should not be on here at all. I think 3 things. One is who's in charge. I put fire prevention second, but then the other thing, because if it all burns down, none of it's gonna matter.
I
But
know-
on the other hand, I know that we're sharing the fire prevention with other groups, right?
right,
So then my thought would be, the second would be the structures of merit, and then
the structure matter of the survey.
the survey, not the structures of merit, because that, you don't want to open that can of worms, I guess. So,
And then
and
the
then if
last
there's,
thing is to let them know about the state district and that we want to celebrate it and get a plaque.
And then is there any way we could work in getting them to lower the fees and costs of
Ooh.
landmarking? Because I've had 3 people now say that they would landmark their place if it didn't cost so much to do it. You know, they have to pay, you know, several $1,000s for an HRR. The city charges, they have to pay for the city fees plus an hourly rate for the planner. By the time you're done, I don't know what it probably totals up to get landmark and
So-
Millsack, but
I paid, it was between $7,000 and $10,000. Microphone. Who's talking? I paid between $7,000 and $10,000, I don't remember exactly. It was a very laborious piece of,
yeah.
a book. And the historian did it, and they have fees, and I'm sure it's a lot more now.
Well, and like
So
one
you're,
of the.
you're talking about the fee to the historian to get your historic resources report, not the fees
For
to go.
Mills Act.
Right, but I think what Commissioner Walker was talking about, the fees that the city charges to go through the process.
Well, both the historic report and the fees that
Okay,
the
well, we
city.
don't decide on how much your historic resources report
So-
costs.
No, but when I was on the commission before, the commission was allowed to pay for or to give a grant for 2 a year. They could determine how that was, or what it was for, but they could pay, the commission would pay, or the city would pay for 2 historic reports a year. And they did that for a while. That's how we got, and that led to several becoming landmarks. So if there was some way that the commission at their discretion could either do one that they were interested in, like I know at one time we were thinking, well, we should do one on the Boyd Club, but then we also did one on the theater, and we did one on the school district offices and different ones like that, and it was really a big help. And a couple of years ago, Brian will remember, the owners of the Porch Gallery, which is one of Ojai's most historic buildings, they came and they wanted to get it landmarked, but the costs were so much that they just dropped it. Well, now it's for sale, it's up there for sale, and I
Hey.
just think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have had that landmark? Yeah.
Craig,
So
Craig,
what
when I-
about, can I just, that's all with what direction we take. When I started on the commission as well, we had, up until COVID, so the first year, we had that fund. We had the two, and we made a list, a priority list of which ones we wanted to go. And then the next year is when we decided we wanted to do the districts. You're gonna take those funds and put them into the district, and then COVID happened, and then, so I think that maybe could be part of the holistic of how we go forward is, can we go back to the way it was before?
And
You
it
know,
might cost
it worked.
it might cost the city 20,000 a year in budget, but it would really help us, I think, to encourage people. And I've had other people approach me and say, you know, what does it involve to get my house landmarked? I'd like to get it landmarked. I'd like to make sure it goes on historic and maybe take advantage of the Mills Act. And I said, well, first of all, you know, it's gonna be around $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. And that's just like, well, you know, the thing is, it's a public benefit, I think, when your building is a landmark. It's not just for the owner, it's for the community. It really benefits everyone, so.
And, Commissioner Walker and Commissioner McCatton, and this I think you'll find helpful, is I was with Commissioner Akins, and I had worked in the past with Post Hazelton, and I just thought that I would call them and find out if they could, in theory, give a special reduced price. And what was the amount we were talking about? $2,500 for anybody on the list who had a single-family house with a guest house, that they would do a historic resources report for that amount. And they said that they would be, of course, it's not finalized, but they seemed optimistic that that's something that they would do.
And I think it would have to be somebody that we approved ahead of time, that we felt that there was enough there that it would be worth spending that money to get it studied.
This is what we did before
So
COVID.
it would be the commission's discretion as to whether or not that was one of the two properties, and that they would have to agree that if it was found to be historic, that they would landmark
If it was on the list, for example, that they would, and met those requirements, that they would do it for that extremely reduced price.
Yeah.
So
So
does
I-
this tie into,
Yes, so
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. So how we could put that into a 20-minute, and in that 20-minute, ask if we can go back to the way it was, and if we can follow the law as we interpret it, or if we need to do it a different way, they need to let us know what it is. And that includes last year, or now 2 years ago, them giving us their, okay to go forward with the structures of merit, and how long that structures of merit has been asked for by city councils in the past, and it's been on the website. And so holistically, a 20-minute conversation to get them to clarify to us if we can, how are we going forward, and using the current laws and the historic, what the commission has done for years.
Gina,
All right, so we include,
sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. go
So I
ahead.
don't know. How do you-
Could you approach it, and would this do the same thing, maybe in a little bit easier way, possibly? Could you just approach it broadly by saying, we have some ideas that might make it more, because the city council, from my memory, likes the idea of landmarking historic properties. They want to encourage that. And so if we say that, we're considering different ways of making landmarking and Mills Act more approachable and for the community and people within the community. Is that something that you would embrace us, considering? And it could be a plethora of maybe reduction of fees or money put aside like it was in the past to help make arrangements with
I still feel that's really specific. I almost feel like what we need from them is an agreement on communication, because I feel like so often we are running parallel to what the city wants us to do, and we need to know if we're supposed to continue on what our interpretation or the city manager's interpretation. we need to know.
Fair enough, I think that's great.
You know, and because of that, all of these things we're stuck. And so, that's the problem. We need to, we need to have council just tell us, did the law change? Did our interpretation change? What are we doing wrong here that we seem to be just stuck so often?
Well, I think sometimes you get new employees, new city managers, new community development directors, and they have their own ideas, but that makes it tough if you've been working on something for a year and a half, and
Well, what makes it tough is the lack of these meetings. Like if we had a joint council meeting, 1 hour every 6 months, and the liaison showed up at least, a couple of the times within the 3 months for each liaison, so many things would be caught before we wasted our time and wasted, and had the frustration. And so I just think that we just need clarity of what they want us to do. I just don't know how to do that in a very clear, concise thing where
you have
we
to
could
be
only really
really-
talk about it for 10 minutes to give 10 minutes of the discussion before we have to go on to the next thing.
So again, let me jump in real quick. So you need to talk to Mayor Gilman before the meeting. I haven't talked with Mayor Gilman as this has taken place over the many months. So he's aware of what's going on. He's aware that there is a quandary that we have, and that was, the main purpose for doing this. But
Okay.
having been in 2 meetings, and I think Mara was in maybe both, one of the 2 meetings. This quandary came about because we have a new city manager. I started beginning of last year. He has, of course, come from other cities, and he has his way of doing things.
Right.
And the city that he came from has a lot of the SOM, so he had some of experience. And this is just the way he's done. In our conversation, in the first conversation, I pointed out that, this is not something what he was directing us was not something that we had ever heard of, had been aware of, and to have this right at the stage where we've just voted to send it to council. So it is that communication. So it's just, understanding the new person, the new sheriff in town, understanding that he is a part of the staff presentation that was sent to us. Oftentimes I thought, the city manager's not staff, he's the city manager. Maura is staff. So when I'm getting a staff report from Maura, I'm like, I'll call Maura up and go, hey, I don't understand this, like I did today. Thank you for your time. But in this case, this guidance came in from staff who was the city manager.
Yeah, well, the first time I met the city manager was at our event with the jail, and then I had a meeting with him, and both times you get the feeling that he really is in favor of preservation, and
Absolutely.
he's lived in historic districts, his family home is historic. He does have so I feel like I said, I just feel like we're parallel because of a lack of communication, and we just need some clarity, because I think there's a lot of things that could just be satisfied for both sides if we just had better
Well,
communication.
it seems like if the
Absolutely.
city
Agree.
manager has some thoughts about structures of merit, he should come to our meeting and discuss it with us and try to sell us on it and learn about why we might not feel like that was in line with what we're trying to do. Have a conversation.
Yeah, we also have never invited him, so maybe we should do that.
Well, I thought he was gonna come. I thought that was,
Actually, I did invite
I thought he was coming.
5 of them at one of the council meetings when we had talked about inviting them to come. But, we're 2 entities, and we're both doing what we think is best,
Right,
and then trying to understand. So we're just trying to get clarification.
right. We don't want to waste our time. We want to do good work, and we want to feel valued.
Right.
But our job is to advise the council. And so
Exactly.
we need to advise him not only on what we've come up with, but advise him on what the city manager feels too. Because we're the ones who know about the history of the town and its buildings and about what's important for the people of Ojai. We represent the citizens of Ojai. So I think that's our role, is to advise them. How can we advise them if we haven't even heard about this other
And
approach?
he understood that. So we had that conversation. I mean, kudos to him on that Friday afternoon. When Mara handed me the packet, I went out, sat in my car, read that first line and said, yeah, that's not going to work. And then he gave some of his time up and we had that discussion. And I went through, this is the process, this is the process we've done. And then he shared, well, this is my way of doing this. This is what I've done. And so that's where we're at, just understanding.
Yeah, so can't he come to our meeting and explain and discuss why he's doing what he says he's doing?
Just don't think that's where the levels are,
Well,
so.
that's what I
yeah.
think is important. What are the levels?
And again, I invited, and made the invitation, but, I mean, we never saw James Fig at one of our meetings.
Well, and he never came in and co-opted one of our recommendations.
so- Anyway, just
So, yeah, I think
moving on.
that we need to just work on communication and a clarity but can we do a 10-minute on that where everybody feels that they're heard? So our next meeting, we need to fine tune it, because we have to have 7 people's, we want to make sure everybody feels heard. But it also doesn't open up cans of worms that we can't solve in that short amount of time. So it's going to be tricky. And then the state celebration and plaque, I think that could be really quick. Am I wrong to think that's going to be quick?
You're gonna ask him for a plaque, right?
Yeah, we're going to ask them for a plaque, and we're going to ask them to, to put us in contact with people with Ojai Day and start coming up with ways that we can do not only the side of the celebration, but the side of the benefits, and explain why that we tabled the local district.
Okay. Well, we have another meeting we can discuss.
Yeah, and so that's those 2 things. And then what is the third thing? Is it the survey or is it the structures of merit?
It's a survey.
It's the survey. Everybody, survey?
Is it the survey or the structures of merit? I don't know what you,
It's a survey.
well, the structures are, the understanding,
It's in the
num-
first one.
yeah, I'm just making sure it's in number 1, otherwise it's gonna be a long
It's on
2
how
years till
we
we
do
meet again.
business.
The
How do
understanding
we do
is
business?
what happened with the structures of merit,
Yeah.
and why that went off the rails, and not only, how we can prevent it in the future, but,
But also understanding, number 1, like that, is going to affect the survey.
exactly.
Be-
Right. Because,
Oh,
The survey's in our path, the survey is in his path. Mara's gonna put out an RFQ
oh,
and
yeah.
someone's gonna
That's-
come in and do their own survey.
and for a whole bunch of taxpayer dollars, that's not necessary, so.
Well, it's gonna scare the property owners.
And
too.
scare the
What is the format for that day? Is there one
It's-
person speaking for all of us?
No,
I felt like we all talked,
and it was, the way it was set up was they had
like a dining
2
room table.
tables going down this way with a table at the end, and then we alternated. There was a commissioner and a council person,
Yeah.
a commissioner, a council person. And then,
Well,
I think
that's
you
how it
did.
was set
So,
up.
so the chair and the mayor will work
We'll
together
decide how
in
to do
determining
that.
who's gonna talk.
Well, and also how it's going to be set up. That's how it was set up 2
Yeah.
years ago, but the location will be different probably, and how they set it up could possibly be different. So but the format is that the 2 groups are together, the council and this commission, and there are topics, there's an agenda, and there's conversation.
Can I just make a quick comment? Councilwoman Mang is just texting with me, and I said, would she like to get on Zoom and speak? Because she had some ideas, and she said, I don't know how to do that.
There's a link to tonight's meeting on the agenda.
Interesting.
It's,
I think on this, the discussion needs to be,
Because
Betw-
she would like to have a special meeting, see if she can set up a special meeting, because she said this sounds much more than an hour. She
Then-
said, here, you've spent an hour tonight talking about how you're gonna spend your hour.
so,
Well, this is the truth.
I understand what you're saying. I think this process needs to be between the chair and the mayor. So I think Councilwoman Mang, if she has ideas, should take it to the mayor and discuss it with him. So,
Well, I do like the idea of a additional special meeting, but we have begged for this for so long that I don't want,
She said, I'll take notes and I'll check with Andy and
Yeah.
Ben tomorrow.
I don't want this to get canceled. I would like something additional to, but gosh.
Yeah. so yeah, take notes and talk with Andy. And then Andy and Gina,
Okay,
you know,
and-
they plan
and
the whole
so
thing out.
Can we have this on the next agenda to fine tune it?
absolutely.
Okay. And then can we move on to item number 9, the education update?
Right, so I don't have a staff report for item number 9. It is, I'm going to,
And this is my fault. I should have given you something on this because we had talked about it so long ago, I just forgot. I talked to the California Preservation Foundation. They, right now, we just rolled over to a new year, another $500 for access to their programs. And right now, the way it works, they changed their format to where we get everything for like half price for past programs and future programs. And then we get one invitation to this. Last year it was in Los Angeles. This year it's in Sacramento, the function that they do. But if we double it to 1,000, then we get, it's all free. And any program that we want, however many people we want to have in it. When we were at planning the other night, I was outside talking to the chair of planning, and I said, we come
John
across
Trent.
ones that say specifically, this would be great for the planning commission. You know, I said, well, do you want me to forward these things to you and you know, or forward them through to them? And he was very interested. So, and I know there's many that, like the ADU one that you're interested in, for historic preservation. So there's all of these times where, and now we have 7 of us. It would and we would get, I think it's 2 tickets to the whole function if anybody who wanted to go. But it seems like it would be financially worth it if you start adding up how many times that we all go to these functions. And I don't know if we want to go, right now they already paid the 500, they would just pay an additional 500, and then basically everything's just turned on for us. We could go on as whatever we wanted, and it would all be free. So, or we can stick the way it is and just be mindful of, you know, how much it costs. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good deal, and I think it's a good organization to support too, because they have always gotten on the phone for any questions that we've had about anything. So.
They record their programs. So if you miss it, you can come back in and watch it later.
And so many of these programs are so much information that I've watched them 3-4 times just because it's like, okay, I really need to watch that one again, because we'll have a meeting, something will come up, and then, so I watch movies all the time. Yeah, and there's just so much to learn with preservation. So I would like to allot the additional 500 from our education fund budget to this, but it's really up to everybody.
When are their yearly programs that you attend in person?
In person, when was that, October? That was in downtown LA? September, October?
I can't remember.
And what is it, just
It
basically?
just, that's the one time where they don't record their sessions, because who does recording is John Haber, their field director, and they want him out there working and getting all the rooms together, so they don't record it. So if you miss that, you do miss it. This time they are doing a lot of things on fire in Sacramento, but it's just they have hotel rooms that you get allotted, and you have different functions, and you have different. It's that Doors Across America, too, where across California, where they have different events that you can drive to and see. We actually, Craig and I both put in one of them as a suggestion for Ojai. Craig put in the
The Gable.
Gables, and I put in the walk that the museum does, our historic district walk, as something, because they do it all of the whole length of California. But there's just so many functions. It's always going on. There's always some sort of something. The past programs are really good because there's ones that are really specific for us, like really understanding the historical building code or CEQA law or Mills Act, there's like specific things, and they have boot camps that are like 3 different days that you watch it in a couple hours each one, and I don't know,
And the people that present are invaluable.
yeah, and they're very approachable, and you build a bigger network, so you learn and build so I don't know, I think it would be good, especially if it's beyond it's really the 4 of us that have been taking classes. It's been Brian and Craig and myself and Lauren, but now that there's 7 of us, and there's also so many things that would be great for city people and planning, so I don't know if you want to spend the extra 500, but I thought I'd bring it up. What do you guys?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Do we have it? I'm sorry? Do we have the extra? I think that, because we
You have,
haven't gone anywhere. We didn't do the USC this year. I don't think we have spent really a lot on.
I think you have the money in your education budget.
Yeah.
To put
So-
another 500 in.
Sounds
So-
great.
Anybody want to make a motion to increase it to the $1,000 level?
I make a motion, we increase it to 1,000 level.
Second.
Can we do roll call?
Yep. Levitt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
McCatton,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Akins.
Yes.
Basasha.
Yes.
Sweet.
And then we have the future agenda.
Mhm.
So on April, what did we say to jump? Remember we said, it was the one that you two were working on, that we were gonna jump to April, not put it on the March, but
Oh, you're talking about, is this the train one?
I don't know, there was something
Was
where
it
we
the
were
one
gonna-
we were working on, Brian?
No, this is the one Craig and I are working on. The one we're working on, we can discuss in just a sec. We're trying to remember which one Craig and I were gonna
I
do.
don't think it was
I
the
think it's,
train one.
So I meant Craig. Sorry.
Oh,
did I
yeah,
say Brian?
sorry.
I meant Craig, we were working
Oh,
on
okay,
ways
yeah.
to reduce
Reduce
obstacles
the
for people
expenses and
to,
benefits
to-
and
to
stuff.
landmark.
Was that the
There you
one?
go.
we were waiting to make sure that he could be on that.
Okay.
And then, but what was it that I asked you to jump to April, and you said, yeah, it doesn't have to be on every one, and it was either with you two, right? It was with Rick and Craig. We said we wouldn't be able to, it should be after our joint council meeting, so don't put it on the March, because we need direction.
I'll look back and see right now if I wrote something down. However, the response that you don't have to have any, you can always skip meetings. You don't have to have your
Right.
ad hocs on every meeting. That's totally up to you. As far as skipping, I don't think I wrote it down.
So it was the one that, because we were looking for direction.
Was it the one on the
Council chambers.
decorating the?
It was this.
I'm
that
sorry,
one.
Sherry,
It was the council chamber one.
the council chamber item.
Council
Okay.
chamber?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, can we put that on the April and not have it on the March?
Okay, so I'm sorry. You want to put the council chamber discussion on April?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then can you change the, to the State Historic District for those 4 months so we can knock that out?
Yes.
And I would like the Mills Act to be on the one in March, if we could,
It's on
please.
it, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure we talk about it. And we'll have all of the issues sorted out by then.
There's 2 of them. It says Mill Act
No.
agreements and then Landmark and Mills Act agreement. Is that the same
So
thing?
412 Mallory is up for the Landmark and Mills Act. That's one
Oh,
item.
okay.
And then I don't know if the Lavender Inn revised historic resources report is going to be here for that meeting. That's not a definite. Then we have the State Historic District. We have ad hoc committee reports, Mills Act. Okay, here we have Mills Act agreements.
Yep.
We have that twice, right?
No, we have
No,
that
the
once.
top one was the Mallory Way property.
There's a space between Mallory Way and Landmark.
Right, but that's one item.
It's one
being-
item.
right.
Okay, thank you.
So then
Sorry.
there's a discussion, and this is a little confusing. It says ad hoc committee reports, and then underneath it, it says Mills Act agreements. I think isn't that a Mills Act, or isn't that a ad hoc committee report?
It is.
Okay,
Yes.
so it really doesn't need to be listed separately.
Right.
Just don't
But
want
we
to
could
forget it.
talk about which ad hoc committee reports are going to be on the agenda.
Yep.
So let's list what ad hoc committee reports are going to be on that agenda. We have, instead of having one title of ad hoc committee reports, okay?
Okay,
So we have Mills Act agreements.
Mm-hmm.
and we will know at that point.
Oh, yes, we will.
Okay, thank you. And the same with the next one, the encouraging historic structure.
I decided to bail and go with my family for 4 days.
It seems like for that one, don't we need, like, direction from council? Isn't
Oh,
that
we'll
one
have-
of your?
Yeah, so why don't we wait on that one to April too? The homeowners and landmark and financial incentive, let's jump that to April.
Is that all right, Craig?
Yeah, that's fine.
Wasn't Trails gonna be on next month too?
Sherry, you're talking quietly. The trails, which
The plaques,
item-
trail plaques.
which meeting do you want that on?
I thought it was just gonna bounce to the
Trails?
next one
I-
in
we
We
March.
can update, just
In
to
March?
update,
Okay, yes, so the
You
trails.
want an update in March?
yeah.
In March, okay.
Okay.
So we have, let's see, we just.
Mills
mentioned
Act and trails so far.
You're gonna have the Mallory Way landmark and Mills Act agreement recommendations. And now you have the State Historic District and the trails and the Mills Act agreements.
What about-
That sounds like a full meeting.
It does. What about the update on the survey? I don't really, until we have direction, can't do that either. Okay,
Oh, right, because the other thing you're gonna be talking about at this meeting is,
The 25th.
is gonna be the 25th, and that's a big item.
okay.
Okay. You may wish to move some of these ad hoc committee discussions to another meeting, since you have Mallory Way and the, the joint meeting
Lavender Inn.
Well,
discussion wrap up.
Let's take the state, because the State Historic District is gonna be on every single one. But let's take it off the March 13th, because that's gonna be,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be on
fine-tuning.
everyone.
well, it's gonna be part of the conversation of fine tuning on the 25th, how we are gonna talk about it, but we're gonna talk about it, how we're gonna talk about it with council. So, just take it off there,
Mara,
right?
I'm sorry, yes, Sherry?
we also have a third item from a applicant coming forward too.
Okay.
338 East Ojai Avenue. Changing the facade.
Yes, that may or may not be ready for this meeting, but we do have another item, that's true.
So that's,
I don't,
is that
sorry.
5 things? It's the Mallory Way, the Lavender Inn, the future meeting, the joint council meeting, the Mills Act agreement, and the trails. Those, that's 5 things?
And we'll discuss what we're gonna talk about at the,
Yes, it's
That's in the
fine tuning the
yeah.
joint council meeting,
Okay.
the Mallory Way, the Lavender Inn, the Mills Act agreement, and the trails.
Oh, but there's something with more with the Lavender Inn?
The Lavender Inn is probably not going to be on this agenda, because I don't have all the information yet. Sherry just mentioned another public hearing item that may or may not be complete for processing, so I don't know if it's going to make it onto this agenda or not.
Okay,
So, but they are both, those two, the Lavender Inn and the one that I'm not sure if we have all the information, are both public hearing items on top of the Mallory Way. And the Mallory Way is landmark recommendation and Mills Act. It's a big item. So just keep in mind how big these items are and how long they take to discuss,
That-
and
yeah,
how much you
that
want to
is-
discuss in one meeting.
That may be a singular address, but it's a lot of buildings.
yeah. That's,
Brought to us by
The,
our city
The
council.
Mallory Way bungalows?
right. But that's definitely gonna be on. And then, yeah. That doesn't seem that heavy, is it? The trails, the Mills Act, the Lavender possibly, the meeting and the.
Well, you don't have any
Mallory Way?
public hearing items tonight, and you're over 3 hours already.
Okay, well, my first time, probably better next time. Also, I think for next time, I would like to maybe think about splitting up the, ad hoc for the, if we're gonna try to get through the, state district goals that we have, one part being the celebration and the other part being the benefits, maybe we need 2 people on the celebration part of it and 2 people on the benefits part of it, or even 3 and 3. You know, so just kind of keep that in your head so we can talk about it next time. Did you hear me?
So you want to keep the State Historic District on that agenda? Because I thought you said you didn't.
No, not for the 13th.
Oh, put that on April?
It'll be discussed, but it'll be discussed about,
But those kind of details aren't going to be discussed, are they? You're going to discuss?
no, I was
So
just thinking when we come back in April after we
Okay.
have our meeting, we might want to, if we're going to be quick about doing what we need to do, we might have 2 different ad hocs, one for the benefit side of it and one for the celebration side of it.
Well, we can discuss that in the ad hoc meeting, right?
Exactly. Okay, is that it? Do we have anything else? We have,
Later
customer-
in the year, I do.
Commissioner comments?
No, I have something that we seem to have missed.
What did we miss?
The annual awards. We start talking about those long before August, especially if they're gonna hold it in, October again. So somewhere there towards on the right side of that, May, June, July, we need to start addressing the annual awards.
I have a commissioner
Commissioner
comment.
comment? Yes, please.
We were talking about the Porch Gallery and how it's for sale, and I thought it was interesting. I went to their real estate ad and was reading about it, and they said the Porch Gallery is a house of merit, they called it. They said it's a city house of merit, and that it's eligible for the Mills Act. So they're advertising it as a historic property, which I thought was good. But since it's not anything in our city yet, I mean, that's why we need the structures of merit, it's not protected at all. Would just like the city to take note of that, so when people come in and maybe they're interested in buying it and they ask about the property, that that be reinforced, that it is on our list. It's not approved by the council at this point, but it is historic.
Anyone else?
Can I ask you a question, Craig? I saw that Boyd Ford's house went for sale and was sold, and it's it's on the corner of Eucalyptus and Foothill, and it was a
Pierpont.
Pierpont, and it was a 1 and a 1. Why isn't it called out?
It was just sold?
It was just It's in escrow, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Why wasn't that, like, noted as a potential structure of merit? There are a bunch of those on that street.
Yeah.
That could be why. Usually it's like the best
Do
example.
they just take one?
Well, they usually only care if it comes up to be altered or something like that. So that's when it's important, but it would be great if the realtors would let people know who buy them that they have that value.
I think it said something in the ad.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No, we're good? I can do this?
Thank you,
Yes?
Gina.
You too? Done? Okay. We're done. 9:15.